and welcome to the final episode of Season 1 of the Inglorious Bards. This is our wrap-up roundtable episode. We're kind of going to do a bunch of questions and answers. We've got a bunch of questions we brought for each other that we don't know what's going to be asked, and we also got some questions from our listeners as well. Kind of just get our impressions of the season, what we thought, and just it's an open forum. We're going to see what happens tonight. So I thought I'd get it started. I have a question for everyone here at the table. We had a lot of crazy adventures. So what was the most daunting scene where you thought this is not going to end well? I know there might be a few.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, I have
Carverath, for sure.
Carverath was the
Going
big
into
one?
it, we were all scared shitless. Like, oh, this is.
There's the cave where Luciar was coming back into the plane, the existential plane.
Mm-hmm.
We sat with that one for a couple weeks too.
Oh, yeah, that was
not awesome.
The mountains.
Between battles, yeah.
Unfinished business. We started the campaign. Things are going way south really quick, and it's like, all right, we'll see you next week. It's like, no!
I remember going into the Carverath battle, you, Christopher, as Rill are just like, are you sure we want to do this? Are you really, really sure? It's a dragon.
It's a breath weapon. We can't cover that distance.
Yeah.
Well, I had a couple for Elmon early on when we were, not super early. I guess it was shortly after Rill joined us, I believe. And we were fighting on outside along the coast, and the ships were coming, and we were on the coastline going up that hill. And then, we took care of everything on the hill, and then this, whole... basically platoon or whatever is coming for us. Elmon's there trying to hold him off, and everybody else is just strolling on up the hill, and Elmon's like, okay, well, we're all gonna freaking die here.
That's right before you ditched us all.
Yep, that would have been the moment. And then in the sewers, when Avius moved forward with the gunpowder, and the orcs were going to just try and destroy.
That one.
That one.
Yeah, that one. Aridafil's home.
Oh, yeah.
That felt very. This is not going to end well-ish to me. Those, yeah, those were the two biggest. I mean, Carverath felt intimidating, but the battle seemed to go okay. Lysiar, however, I felt like we had gotten in a little over our heads. I mean, we did. We lost Puck. So.
Pressed in on both sides, trying to stay alive. Yeah, that was
and of course, the Grey Ascent.
Yeah, that was going to be my point I was going to bring up. Yes, so there was this story where sometime in the tower, our group is going at each other's throats. Now, I know... I have this vision of how Olgrim responds to everyone, and I had to throw all of that out the window and just go for dice rolls and the whole concept of just getting away as fast as possible. And with each step I was taking, it was just like, okay, I will probably kill this person, and then what? So I was terrified all through that part. But
And
it worked out-ish.
It did-ish. And then when you and Elmon had that one round of combat, I went in going, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna action surge. I'm like, okay, he's done. And then you're like, and then I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is
missed on everyone except one.
Right. It's this is not gonna go as well as I was sort of, I have to admit, underestimating your ability there momentarily.
I think you said the line, so this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And I was going into that encounter a little cocky, and then by the end of it, I was like, I need to go.
There's no hanging around.
This dwarf is going to kick my ass. Yeah.
The Grey Ascent, we finished we finished one episode where Olgrim gets it on his arm. That was the cliffhanger. Yeah. And then there's a week before then we see the results of what that is. And Christopher, who plays Olgrim, and I, we talked briefly about it. And he's just like, well, what does this do, this device? It doesn't have any powers right off the bat. They'll grow on you. He said, what do I do now? I said, well, you just need to own it in every way. This is yours. You need to do what it takes, do whatever it takes so that you have this. So, you know, if you want to flee and run away, if you want to do the Cylon method and pretend you don't have anything, or if you need to cause a lot of chaos with the group, it dominates people. So yeah, you then took that and just pushed it hard. It was crazy.
Yeah. Oh.
And I have questions about the gray ascent as well, but
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Scary times.
Yeah.
I've got another one here. My other one is, we've run a lot of games in the past before we ever recorded anything and sat down to do a podcast. What was the biggest change when role-playing into a microphone for the first few times? Did this being a podcast change the game or how you played?
For sure, voices.
How so?
Just because, I mean, I'm the newbie here, but I don't think if we didn't have a microphone pushed into our face, I would have tried. I mean, I would have tried, but I don't know, just doing the voices, I felt like mattered a little bit more.
That's a good point. Yeah. Because without the microphones, you're not really pressed to probably role play.
Yeah, you're not trying to impress anybody, and you know.
Yeah, try to be entertaining on a certain level. You could just play it down.
Yeah.
And then it'd be accepted. But this one, that's a great point, actually. I didn't even think of that.
It made the game better for me as a role player. I felt like I could open up more, that there was I don't know, like you're saying, reaching out to an audience. So my characters would just get a little bit more to 11 each one, just go a little bit more extreme.
You definitely did more singing.
I'm ham for a song because I'm so bad at it.
I think we did a lot of things we really didn't intend to do.
It worked out.
I have to say, on the point of voices, if I can not necessarily digress, but just diverge just a bit. When you, Seth, started playing Puck, it was choose a voice. And you went with it, and you're a, deep-voiced fella, and for you to pull off Puck's voice, pulling
it off is...
And you were consistent down the line.
Yeah. Even
with me giggling like a fool and everyone else doing their thing, you stuck to it, and it was brilliant for a newbie. I mean, that's blew me away. So anyway,
means a lot coming from you, because your little dwarven accent's great. You did good with real. Yeah, thank you.
I liked when it would be something like you would say, oh, shut up, you assholes. I mean, shut up, you assholes. Or the best would be the reverse. I'm going to grab my weapon.
Yeah.
I love when that happened. Anyone else?
Absolutely no difference whatsoever.
You came into the game like this. You came to the group like this.
What other questions you guys have?
I have a couple questions from some listeners. This is from Matt W. How big of a difference would the season have been if Avius opened the box in episode 1?
Oh man. And Avius wanted to open the box. He was held open the box.
He was. And the rest of your party did not trust you.
The rest of the party did not.
Yeah, we're kind of coming into that.
Well,
I don't think we would have realized the significance of it in any way. We definitely, maybe if we had researched it and been like, okay, like this has to be something important, and realized the significance of it, but and I guess maybe we should have, since that's what the cultists were.
I was blown away that you guys didn't crack that sucker open. And you even went back once or twice to the vault. Mm-hmm. I think there was like episode 20 or 25. You even like pushed it out of the way to grab something else in the vault and then left. And I'm like, what's in the box? What's in the box?
I think Avius at least felt like he was not prepared for what was in the box. He wanted to open the box. He knew it was something, but he wasn't prepared for it. And then, honestly, just kind of forgot about it for a while. Like after, probably like by episode 20 or so, we hadn't been back to Hammersong Vaults in quite a while.
Yeah, after the Hallop powder.
Yeah, just kind of forgot about it. But I guess if we would have opened it right then and there, like I don't think we would have known what we had, but perhaps over time we would have been able to figure out what we had, and maybe we could have gotten into the main Warren and the Gothgaldamel much quicker than we did.
Kind of knowing how scatterbrained our party is, I think if we had opened it and then been like, we'll shelve this for later, we would have never gotten back to it. We would have definitely had to have like opened it and made a concerted effort to actually like, okay, this like realize this is what the cultists were looking for. We need to figure out what this is. It might be pivotal to the entire frickin' campaign. But then, you know,
shit happens.
yeah.
Or we just sell it to some alchemist somewhere thinking it's worth something.
Or you open the box up, you throw the hand out. Yeah, there's nothing in here, really.
The box
Nice
must be
box,
magical.
I'm going to put stuff in the box.
Do I put my hand in here now?
Oh, don't do that. See what happened to the last guy. Okay.
Hold it open.
You mentioned things forgotten. Any other things that we forgot in the campaign? Listener Emelise brought up, if I'm saying your name correctly, whatever happened to Pokey? Pokey the Wonder Lizard of Pucks.
No, Puck definitely never forgot about Pokey. We just didn't leave the city after that, other than on a ship, and then, he died.
Yeah. So we should assume that the lizard's been taken care of over the...
Well, you guys did not like my idea of having him as dinner at the funeral, but...
No.
Terrible!
Yeah.
Elmont had originally planned to set him loose, and then I know like Avius mentioned him at some point in time, and we just never got around to actually doing that. So, he was either set free or
Rotted.
Yeah.
No one paying his dues for years.
I like to think the other goblins, the goblin trio.
There you go.
took 'em and,
That's a happy ending.
He's pulling a fruit cart now.
There you go.
I'm Heek. Writing Pokey. No. Yeah, okay. I had always hoped we would come back to some horrible incident with the clock that we had pushed over the side. Some crazy return of that mechanized monstrosity just creeping back over the edge at some awful time.
Captain Hook crocodile scene of like the tick-tock.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, once we pushed that whole clock over the edge, I'm like, oh, that's going to come back to bite us.
So what was the story on the clock?
The clock. So here's the story on the clock, which is interesting. The clockwork thing crashes the party, gets away with the Gray Ascent up in Malil's room in his vault. So the clockwork tinkerer guy, he's got all he wants. He doesn't care about Malil in any way whatsoever. A gift was just brought to Malil of this clock that had no danger to it in any way whatsoever, which you guys then threw down into the gorge. Yes.
Just a harmless clock?
Yes.
Here we all thought it was a tragedy narrowly averted.
It was not a transformer. It was not.
Good story.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, his poor clock.
Did we spend like a whole episode?
We spent a good hour on that clock, yeah. And I think that furthered the Jorn War, I believe.
Fuck Jorn so
Poor Jorn.
No. Hated that guy.
He really, he got more than what was coming to him, I think.
He did send assassins after Puck.
Well, after that, he sort of had it coming, but before that...
No, because he's the one that gave Puck a bunch of crap when the first time we went to Malil's, like episode 3.
Yeah.
And so then Puck got a little vengeful with after he gave Puck some grief for being a goblin after he was racist.
All right.
It was like,
Don't-
yeah, I'm gonna
Don't
go
get
out
on
of my
Puck's
way.
backside now.
And
I'll go out of
then
my way to
and then didn't
annoy
want to
this
take
guy.
any questions from anybody. And that's where I sort of thought Puck was deriving his hate for him from, and then just sort of,
I think episode, every time I look through the episode list and I see
3.
episode 3,
free for all clear.
that's got to be the funniest episode to me.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
There was some funny.
I love just how that.
What other questions did you have, Seth?
Matt W had another one, a two-parter. This is for Christopher.
Hi.
Was Olgrim's retirement planned?
Was it planned? It was
Kind of.
pseudo-planned. It was really a choice as to whether or not to continue as a massively disfigured adventurer with penalties all over the place, which would have been fine. But ultimately, I decided instead of kind of burdening the party on that kind of end, I decided and ultimately ended up going with a nice, smooth exit out, which turned into one of our greatest scenes.
It was my
between-
favorite scene.
between Puck and Olgrim. And if it really came down to a question of did I have any regrets doing it out, I did. No way. No. Because that anchored a lot of story to that point, which could be referenced again and again and again.
Yeah.
And he shows up.
That was cool. It was
yeah.
useful to the rest of the
Yeah, it was
campaign that
awesome.
he could come by every now and again.
And kind of a departure from a lot of other storytelling, type methods for characters who reach an end point. He didn't just die, we buried him, threw him in a canyon, whatever. He's still there. He's just no longer a
it was
part of
great.
the
And
group.
if
But
he
yeah.
had died, Puck would have taken a much darker turn than he did.
That's hard to imagine. But hold on, but going back to the retirement, you just don't see that often in role playing games.
Yeah.
It's death or we kill a dragon. We're heroes. You don't.
Yeah.
That's a kind of an interesting, mature way of just a character having an end. He's just had enough. I really liked it. It was kind of a little on the powerful side, I thought.
Part 2 of the question, which is if Olgrim had not retired, would we have beat Lorien? Which I thought was interesting.
With one hand behind my back.
Well, I think more without Rill.
That's a good.
He became
good point.
a much stronger part of the party than
Olgrim was designed a lot for the upfront combat. Let's just say he was perfectly healed by the time we got here. Diving into a whirlwind of cultists he would have slaughtered so many, but I think ultimately probably wouldn't have been anywhere near as effective because, I think, the swarming of everything, and really even with his multiple attacks, I don't want to get too mechanical, but, taking down 3 versus Avius would blast down like 9 of these guys, and it would just take Olgrim a week to get through anything. So I don't think so. I don't think so. I love Olgrim. He's badass in every way to me.
Yeah.
If he had his ship and he came in, he'd take out a bunch more. That could have been interesting, but I think I don't think he would have been as effective.
And I
Sorry,
have a
Olgrim.
question relating to that as well. Was there a specific moment that you decided like Olgrim's done? And did that happen during a roleplay moment, or did that happen like in retrospection after a session? Did you decide, I'm going to retire?
I think I know what you're talking. Yeah. So what had come down at the end of the episode prior to the Gray Ascent, which was the bracelet has essentially clasped onto Olgrim's arm. The moment that happened and I was told its effect, essentially, which was, you want this and you need this kind of thing, that became a driving factor. Once that happened, my whole point was to either get away or die. And I think at that point, right when that happened, I was like, this is going to be the end story for Olgrim. once that happened, because there was no taking it off. Hey guys, whatever. Even if I made some successful check, which wasn't allowed to me, by the way. I didn't resign myself. I did come up, and I think I talked with Tom about this too, about, okay, if he succeeds and gets away, what's he become? But even in that scenario, it was it diverged too much from being a part of the group and whatnot. He would become an NPC at that point. So I think at that particular moment, I said, okay, we need to come up with a nice, eloquent way to wrap this. We being me and helping with Tom here. So
right.
So does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I miss the man. I'm right here. I have so many interesting conversations with myself in the day. So. No, I don't want breakfast.
All right, I've got a few here from Eric A. in Texas. Eric has questions for each of you guys in turn. Let's stick with Ulgrim because that's what he's got on here. Ulgrim, Shieldbiter. When and under what circumstances did Puck and Ulgrim meet? What would you guys say about that? I can't remember.
I think we talked about it early on. We were just in a band of mercenaries together.
A driving storyline for mine was, and I don't want to overlap on anything with you, but essentially, Ulgrim's background is cursed, more or less, for taking on dark, cursed objects, and then those overwhelmed us, similar to the Grey Ascent, and we attacked violently druid villages and whatnot. Now, one of the elder druids cursed the clan I was in, and they just lose their mind. To which I then wake up in the care of Puck and his tribe and whatnot, and you bring me out of it, and then we kind of go on our own adventure, you keeping me in check as we go. So yes, mercenaries, we're doing our adventuring, but yeah, it has a very significant tie.
Ulgrim kept Puck in check as well. That was a two-way street.
I love that bond so much. It was
great.
The best one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Next question for Ulgrim. Eric asks, how do you fly an airship with one arm?
I have a great response for that, and I don't. I'm the captain of the airship. Someone else flies it.
All right. He's the Captain Stubing of Deanna. All right. His final question for Ulgrim. My understanding was that while it was very difficult to magically regrow a limb, it was not impossible. With all the money the group received from assisting Malil and later had access to from the Dragon's Lair, why was there no attempt to follow up and pursue a magical solution?
Great question. I think to that end, once I had come to accept the quote-unquote demise of the character and step him and phase him out of the group, I did want to move on. So yes, we could have restored his arm with gobs of cash, even dumping out 20,000 gold in the middle of nowhere. I think I did.
You did.
Yeah, real did.
Yeah.
Sorry guys. No boats for you.
Yeah, it's all right.
I think it was
these other two could have spent it.
Digs going on post campaign.
Oh, by the way, there's tremendous spoilers. If we should have mentioned that way early on in this
Spoilers.
recording.
You're gonna have to put that at the beginning.
No, they're gonna suffer with it.
Yeah, we could have pursued it, but I just think coming up with Rill, adapting him to the group, getting him bonded to everyone, and making him a significant portion, there just wasn't a desire on my part to have like Ulgrim restored and brought back to full health and all that kind of stuff. He accepted that.
All right, that's good. Eric asks, of Puck, why did you take Jorn's eye?
Puck had an extreme hatred for Jorn. I've already discussed it a little bit. But I also like that episode. That episode 3 was very pivotal for Puck. That's when Puck really, as playing Puck, came into the character and was like, wrapped my head around him, and he was very spiteful, and that was just something that I took and I ran with as hard and fast as I could. And That was the plan all along, was to take his other eye.
All right. He also asks, before the death blow that hurt my heart, was there any possibility of you transforming into a panther, bear, or eagle to extend your hit points and thereby extend your life?
I think at that point I only had because I could only do it twice a day, and
You did eagle earlier. That
I did, and oh man, I don't.
All right, let's retcon this whole thing. Go sideways.
Buck's alive!
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of what ifs in that moment. I could have done. We all could have done several things differently, but
I thought you had already done it twice. I thought you were a panther or a bear in the cave, and you were
No.
already an eagle before then. No?
I'm pretty sure I still had one.
There's no way to ever find out, I guess. All right. Let's move on. His last question for Puck. You were my favorite.
Oh.
It's not a question. Yeah, not a question. We'll strike that from the record.
No.
He then has, Eric has a single question for Elmon Yabael.
Oh, God.
What the hell were you thinking?
Mark that up.
I think we
my
don't even
list.
need context for that.
All right. So having that dagger, which is
You want to set the scene a little bit?
yeah. So
So we were outside of a wagon.
so having the dagger given to me by Glennerin, we had a 2-3 week hiatus between episodes.
Now, where was this?
This was final episode.
In the tower with all the
Spire.
Yeah, I am assuming that's what he means.
I know. I'm just. I want to put a scene out there for people who are jumping
This is
in.
before you guys went into the spire.
Right before we went in the spire.
Okay.
Glennerin gave me the dagger.
Uh-huh.
And then we had like a 3 week hiatus, and then we're getting into Gothgol Gamel. And the whole time, Elma, like, I was thinking, like, okay, this has to be a super, like, you know, she gave it to me in this, like, really pivotal moment. It was really powerful. So, like this dagger has to have some sort of, like, absolutely profound meaning, which is one of my questions later. And then we are in the spire. Things are going on. Like, things are crazily going our way, which, like, knowing that this is sort of final battle, I know this is sort of like the pre-battle before we get to the real battle, because things are going too well. And for the 3 weeks before that, I had been thinking, oh, like what does this dagger do? What does this dagger do? And then the entropy spear is there, and I'm like, oh, it has to be tied in, because that's like the main source of what's happening, and we need to deal with that. So maybe I can just, like, shortcut this whole thing and just take care of the entropy spear. That's a big portion of what we have to deal with. And then Morion will maybe come in and be less powerful than he would have otherwise. Couple arrows, he's down. You know?
Yada, yada, yada.
Yada,
World
yada, hero of the city. And so I was like, you know what? Elmon's just going to go for it. And, you know, he's going to trust that Glennerin gave him this power.
Oh, yeah, put it on her.
Obviously. And
Right,
just,
he's already
right?
Oh.
And I just went for it.
All right.
To my demise.
All right.
It was a brave thing.
Brave. It was brave.
Following that question, what would have happened, Tom, if he would have rolled anything besides a 1?
That's a great question. So, yeah, Elmon plunges the dagger in. He's messed up. This is like the most powerful 5-foot sphere in the entire universe, you know, of the whole campaign's right there. So that's really bad to touch.
It was 5 feet. I thought it was huge.
No, it wasn't massive.
Oh,
no, it was.
Don't get in my head. Then,
No, it was
'cause
like
that thing was
person
huge. Oh, okay.
I'm glad I cleared that up with my clear
I was
descriptions.
thinking, you know, like hula hoop.
God, I was thinking 30, 30 feet. Okay.
Yeah, so the roll, if you had rolled poorly, not a critical failure. If you had rolled poorly, it would have been you would have had maybe 2 moments to affect things as opposed to the 1 moment you did.
Okay.
But you were screwed. If you rolled well, you were still absolutely screwed, but you probably would have been affecting the campaign, maybe, or affecting that last battle every other round or so.
Okay.
You would have a lot more effect then, but you were still screwed the moment you did that.
All right.
But if you rolled a natural 20, you pop out the other side minty fresh, you know? Yeah, but to get a 1 on that one, oh, the timing.
Pretty big failure.
Eric asks 2 things of Avius. He asks, you made me laugh in every episode, even when your antics were not in the group's best interest. Oh, that was it, no question. But this second question, I think, is rather good one. Kobold, or kobold?
Well, Eric, what you need to understand is the minutia and the differences between the kobold.
My question's more poignant. Who is ready for adventure?
One of my favorite, I had this joke in mind for like 3 months. Like probably after episode 4 or 5 when you started doing the, haven't you heard of Katorum Island? I had this joke in my mind of, we need to get to a point where some official unrolls a map. And I had this joke in my mind, and for the longest time, and we got to a point where I could do it, and then I did it, and I called out all these other random locations, and he just haphazardly says Katorum Island as though it's a matter of fact. Oh, I was just grinning from ear to ear.
Awesome.
I'm grinning right now.
So happy.
Oh, that was so
Life
good.
justified.
Eric asks of Rill, Stump Runner.
Oh.
The choice of a halfling character following the portrayal of Olgrim was a bit surprising. I feared that without a tank character, the group would suffer. Did you have this concern?
Absolutely. It was a nightmarish consideration. I was like, the moment I do this, there's a significant change, but it also pigeonholed me, if you will, to one class.
You would have to be a tank of some sort, a paladin
all the time,
or something.
So the exotic, and this goes a lot to you, Tom, the GM, and the flexibility of play. It's still damn dangerous, but even though stuff is coming, it was still workable with pretty much any class, I think. So when I broke out the bard, everyone else, yes, had to step up and assume, probably more significant roles, getting in the face of some of the damage and whatnot. But it allowed Rill to explore his class, and so yes, it was a definite consideration. But I felt pretty comfortable with the decision towards the end. And keep in mind, I would have been totally happy playing another dwarven fighter.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Had the voice down and everything, and just Holgrim's brother or something like that. But yeah.
I thought Rill did an amazing job with his utility spells. Like the blue mist. Holy shit.
So many times.
The blue mist.
The buffing of play, the debuffing constantly of enemies.
Debuffing?
Yeah, the crowd control skills. I mean, like you definitely, you expertly employed the bard's abilities to, pull us out of harm's way multiple times. And, there were plenty of battles that, our success was very pivotal on Rill's ability to, make someone laugh, literally.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then, have somebody do this and then do, like I think one time in all the time Rill partied with us, did I see him draw, his sword. There's only one time where you actually engaged in true melee combat with something else.
Yeah, I think I do recall.
Yeah. And I think it was early on because while you were still getting the feel for your character, that or like we just had I forget the moment, but we had a lot going on and but that's the only time that I saw you actually like engage in melee combat and not just strum your lute and do something mystical.
And a lot of it was, in my mind, unsung. because you can get like, thanks for the huge heal or the cool winter blast or thanks for the fireball or the 26-point arrow shot. And you're doing ridiculously low, lame damage as the bard, and you're not healing, but you're just sidestepping the whole party just a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. So all this damage and effects are just slightly off, just enough. I remember when we talked about your new character, I just said, no, it's not fair for you to be stuck in a tank role. I mean, we all balanced the party before we started, but I said, just do whatever you want. I'll balance the encounters out so it's still a challenge but not overwhelming or something. And I thought it was just going to be a mess. And Elmon did have to use his rapier a little bit more after that point, but I was
only a couple times. There were only a couple
wasn't
times early on where like Elmon stepped in and like decided to move into melee combat, but then realized like, oh, Ril's kind of got it, so I can just stand back and.
You weren't very good at it either.
No. I mean, there's a good reason why his bow is his main weapon. They spend a lot of points going that way.
And I was expecting it to just be just slaughter of big things, just mowing down the party, and the party's just now scattered, just a big mess. But it didn't turn out that way. And Valiant was not there for like 10, 15 episodes.
Yeah.
So there was no tank in any way, and it still worked really well.
So how the hell do we survive? When playing Ril on the mechanic side of thing, I had an upside and a downside. And the upside is, range, fun, chances of things missing or giving you guys ultimate bonuses. But the downside that I had was a lot of things were locked into concentration, so I could only do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
It's like,
The Paladin has that like crazy. Everything's concentration.
But it was a lot of fun to play, and you guys work well with every class I've seen played together so far. So that was a blast.
This brings up another question from a listener, though. Jack S. When Ril first joined the adventure, he felt that he had a large backstory. He was very hush-hush about what and why he was even there. And he wants that cleared up a little, shed some light on it. Because
I'm to blame, I think, for that. Yeah, Christopher came up with a cool backstory for Ril, dealing with cult-related stuff, and you can certainly share that. But he shared it with me, and I had some ideas for it. You then kept wanting to get back into it. Like 4 or 5 episodes went by. You even said, I'm spending all 1,000 of the gold I have on information towards it. And I was like, okay. And so I started getting ready for that. But the group just went in a whole different direction then. And it's just like, oh, it's snowballing towards Morian right now. So yeah, I just could never get back to that.
Yeah, I wanted to make a powerful backstory. I had just come off of Ulgrim, so I was like emotionally vested. So it seemed like a lot of the ideas and concepts really kind of dulled at that point. So it was a trick. Excuse me. So what had happened is Ril had been a traveling minstrel for a significant portion prior to the campaign, having a normal family life and whatnot. At which point, during his travels, he had encountered the Chaos Cult, not in an unfriendly kind of way, just we would like your help. We need your help to do this. Small things, simple things. But at some point it became a little bit more maniacal and sinister and whatnot, and they actually threatened his family, ultimately taking the daughter and the wife away to kind of secure him into service, if you will. Later on, Ril finds out that the wife has been killed and the daughter is in servitude somewhere. So I wanted to find the daughter. Now, the trick is how did I know any of this? And that's where I started playing the Blue Mist for a bit of time, about things that you guys would see in the visions and whatnot. I really wanted to play that out more. It didn't come up as much, but when I first did it, and I think it was with Elmon's character.
I think so. Yes.
You had a vision of the Feywild where you saw halflings in the trees and kind of whatnot. That's where anyone who was awake and walking around was dead in the world. Anyone who was asleep in that world was alive in the world we were in. So when you saw it, you saw the wife cradling Ril and the daughter. That was like, oh, I hope someone gets that, but it didn't.
Yeah.
And then I kept playing off of that, so it was significant. Yeah, I was trying to draw it out a little bit more, but it just didn't get there. But that's okay. We
should have done like one of those Star Trek episodes where it's just like a Geordie episode. We should have done that for real.
Yeah.
Eric also asks, going to his questions again, of Rill. After Morian's cloud shield dissipated, he was vulnerable. You had previously tried heat metal. I thought there was an opportunity to try heating the crown again before Avius bubbled him. Was that an option?
Let's see. That was heat metal. That was level 2. I don't think I was out of spells. I think I had a bunch of spells. I forget my action that I took at that time. So Morian was a big problem, but one thing I kept finding out was frustrating as all get out was casting spells and gets resisted, casting spells and so forth. He finally becomes vulnerable, but at that time we had a giant skeleton on us and a lot of other things affecting us. I had already lost the Phantom Hourglass, I think, maybe.
that saved so much damage, by the way. Ridiculous.
But a brutal loss just came up and stepped on it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
but you negated like whole creatures with that. That's very powerful.
Yeah, I saw Avius was under threat a lot, so I was holding a lot of stuff back for real because I needed his inspirations to counter any kind of crushing blow that might come to Avius, especially now since the Phantom Hourglass was gone. So I had a lot to contend with. Morian was actually the least of my concerns, even though that could have been devastating if he'd got close to us and done whatever. But yeah, I was literally thinking of the party that during that mess. So
he asks of Valian. Eric asks, during the closing moments of the final battle with Morian, what were you hoping to accomplish by striking the door?
Oh, I was hoping the door, we could close the whole thing off.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of like, saw where we were at, and I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen here, and it was a roll of the dice, because if I could have hit it and it crumbled, and another one, because the other one, the one that was damaged, I was hoping maybe I could just
oh, okay.
And then
down,
take a bunch of power away from him.
Question about the...
Go for it. There's plot-related questions.
Were they related to the Lacing Gates?
The doors were not related to the Lacing Gates. Nope.
There were doors to other planes, right?
They were doors to planes of chaos.
But one was destroyed, just like we had destroyed one.
Yeah, it was destroyed. I mentioned it very offhand. Yeah. It was destroyed by a lich long ago in his attempts to access the Bane Warren. He essentially overclocked the entropy sphere, burst the gate, and that was able to create that rift in the Bane Warrens you guys went through.
Okay, all right.
Going back a second, in that scene where Valian is trying to deal with that, Rill was committed to because he had no idea what he was going to do.
Oh yeah,
he's like, whatever you say, Valian, I'm on here. So when you start banging that thing, I'm like, okay, so right away I'm going to jump to the next door and try to just mimic whatever she does. And yeah, it became instant simpatico, whatever we were doing. But it's a crazy intense scene. Oh.
It was.
We mentioned the Bane Warrens. I just remembered an area. There was a branching area you guys did not further explore because you had a job to do,
yes.
Which I totally appreciate. There was an area that would have taken you to the
Sword of Lies.
The Sword of Lies, which Valian I thought was going to be all over that. Because that's the church's goal, is to get this.
For sure. But at the same time, it was in the moment. Because I thought about it, but I'm like, I'm here with this party as not quite a member of the party, but with them, and it's definitely something she looked into afterwards.
I was interested to see if anyone's going to grab it and then wield it, perhaps, the Sword of Lies in the final battle. It was literally a double-edged sword.
I mentioned it, but
I think it would have been bad news.
We were warned against
the party's enemy.
Yeah, we had a if we had the hand long ago, these rooms would have been explored.
Looted on eBay.
But we were on a deadline, and we were just like...
There was another branching corridor, and it was...
Cloak of Generals?
The Cloak of the...
Cloak of the General? Cloak of...
the Hallow General, I think, or something like that.
Halogen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Arrow General.
that's one of the titles of Morian. That was his cloak in there.
Oh.
Yeah. And it had a little boost for you guys if you wore it, and then he would have immediately claimed it and got a much more significant boost if he saw it on you. So that was interesting. And then also in that area, which you guys didn't go to, and I'm so upset we didn't go. Not that you knew, but I was so bummed because it was going to be a room that also had a tiny, tiny, tiny rift into it that a very small person could get into this small room that was already looted. So you'd have to unlock this door to go inside. And inside you would see a cut and a weird, like a slab and a cut. And you would not all, correction. Avius and Elmon would have like a real big connection to the stone slab in the middle. And there's like kind of a ringed hole. And you would see it's a conical area where a metal spiral of the gray ascent would be. And that's where it came from. It came from the Bane Warren. And way back when, this is episode 15 or 14, I described it. I said a female explorer, her hand reaches in and pulls it out, and then I show the lineage of the Gray Ascent going. So that was in the Bane Warrens at one point. Oh, I was so excited, but it didn't come to pass. Chris, you're looking at me like you got a big question.
Well, I have like mostly like plot related questions at this point.
I got a couple more from Eric. Let me finish up Eric and we'll do that. All right. Eric asks of me, Dungeon Master Tom, did it ever annoy you when Rill would interrupt and reverse a critical failure with a blue miss?
I imagine the first one's a yes, because I think that threw you.
Oh,
Why
yeah,
are you
it totally threw me. No, it didn't annoy. I thought it was cool, and I thought the blue mist role playing it out was great. I enjoyed that. But at the same time, not in a I want to get you method, but at the same time, those ones are really interesting to me, whether I roll them or you guys roll them. The official rules of D&D is you can have a critical success on a 20, and I believe it's an automatic miss, maybe some sort of failure concept on a 1, but there's no critical failure tables that I'm aware of. And in all the skill checks, there's absolutely nothing on a critical success or failure. That's just something we do because that's fun. Yeah. That's enjoyable. So for all you budding role players listening in, enjoy those ones. Those can create interesting moments. Maybe not when you're Elmon at the final last scene going into an energy sphere. But otherwise, I mean, those ones, when you fumble and your weapon goes sliding across the room, that creates dramatic, tense stress. Or even if it's something so obvious, like you're in a sci-fi campaign, your guy's the master of computers, and you're just doing a basic computer check, and you roll a 1, some people would say, oh, you should get the take 20, bonus on this or whatever. But to me, that's really funny. You can make funny moments. So I missed having access to a lot of those.
You just accidentally delete the
So that was the only negative.
Right.
Eric asks of Dungeon Master Tom, do you know the difference between Avius and Elmon?
Good question.
Yeah, I don't know why I would mix your names up constantly.
Oh, yeah.
So, for season 2, I'm lamely going to separate the two of you into a different area of the table. That's the only thing I can think of, because you were both sitting on one side of the table. Your names are not alike. I don't know why. I have no clue. Both with vowels?
I'd also like to point out, you pointed at me as Rill every now and then and go, all right, Elmon, you're doing this. And
it was like I was everybody.
Yeah, but it was primarily Avius and Elmon.
Primarily.
Yeah.
It was bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. I have no idea why. I'm interested to see if it happens again. He then asks, what character's action, Tom, surprised you the most? I can think of
this one.
Yeah, there's a couple weird surprises. I think the one that surprised me the most was after everything you explored in this chamber and everything you've seen, Avius then says, well, let's go look at the last tower at the end of this chamber. This is inside the sewer when you meet Morian and his crew for the first time. And the whole party is like, no, this is not good. We got a really bad feeling. And I was just like, I was not expecting anyone to take another step forward into that area. I thought this was going to be okay, we're not ready for this. We need to get out. And then it just triggered all this other interesting stuff. Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And then at one point, you're like, let's go jump down one of these holes next to this tower. And I'm like, oh my God, he's gone.
Was that Underdark?
Yes, that would be absolutely bad. Absolutely bad.
Yeah, good times.
And then his last question, Eric asked of the entire group. At the end, only Valiant and Rill remained standing. Technically, Olgrim survived as well. If you had to choose one and only one character from any that participated in the campaign to survive, who would it be and why?
I would choose Elmon because just feel sorry. No. See that? I actually kind of did want to see something come out of that, like some new I don't know, children being born there. Elven.
I was hoping
children.
he'd take over the mantle of Ridithil's home, and yeah.
Had Elmon survived, that was the plan. Yeah, he would have gone to live in Ridithil's home with Glennerin.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I know this isn't the answer to the question, but when the explosives happened under Ridithil's home,
yeah,
and it damaged it because you guys limited the damage, it didn't get the huge, massive explosion the orcs were happening for. And you said if Glennerin had been killed,
yeah.
What did you say?
So if if Glennerin had been killed, Elmon would have had to make a decision of whether to kill Avius or not, because he would have absolutely blamed him for it. And then, regardless of outcome of that, Elmon would have slipped into the woods to never be seen again.
Oh.
He would have just been done with the party, with society, with people in general, and gone to go live in the woods where he basically, he grew up out in the countryside.
So that would have been it then.
So that would have caused Elmon's retirement in that
Stakes
moment.
were high and no one ever knew.
And why was it that the Ridithil's home was under threat? It was why was Avius involved?
Well, we were down in the sewers, so we were coming back from the experience with the ships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where Avius blew up the other two ships.
Oh, so this is fireball related. Why we were in this kind of mess.
No. Well, it's real. You had blown up the ships with the heat metal.
Oh no! I mean in the room itself. I'm predicting.
Right. And then
I'm getting ahead of myself.
And then Elmon had gone through the camp, pilfered a note that was basically saying that he had figured out that they were going to try and blow up the elven home.
Right.
So he was basically compelled the party to go find it and take care of it, and that's why we were down there. And then they had the big barrels of gunpowder or whatever it was to try and blow up the home. And then
Avius jumped the gun a little.
And what was it, like a stray fireball or something like that?
Because
he just ran in.
Yeah, because we had we had the element of surprise, and Avius was just like doop and just started walking forward and just like, hey guys, how's it going? Who's ready for adventure? And basically tripped
I got
the
it now.
encounter
Okay.
without us having preparation.
We're running out of time.
We had a few moments where we could have come up with a strategy before that happened, but
All right, let's get back to the question, you guys. One character from any that participated in the campaign to survive. Who would it be if only one person could walk away from it all?
I would say my pick would be Puck.
Why?
I was a secret fan of Goblin Force. Rooting for the underdog. I saw Puck go from this timid druid, spear wielding, low damage healer to
shitty
to a warrior, a true warrior, and a badass, and just
Do you remember where Goblin Force came from?
Yeah, from the
With Mavius and
Show of Lights.
Fuck yeah, the Show of Lights.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
The Founders Day Festival.
Because it was right after the Katorum 4 and Elmon jumped on that bandwagon as well, and Puck was like...
We're all having our pissing match.
And so, yeah.
I did it. The Yabe L4 thing was literally just like a joke that I meant to be like a one-off thing, and then like, you know, the Commissar or whatever.
I just
like,
ran with it.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, what have I done? But like literally, I like had no intention of doing it. But then once, you know, like an official grabbed on, I'm like, F it. But anyways, you were saying.
That's just where it came from. If Puxer had survived, it would have been awesome to just like tell tales of how he would have totally joined up with Olgrim.
Thought you were going to say Glennerin, but yeah, go ahead.
After the thing, but
gone back with your family.
As much as that was never going to happen. And as much as I want to say Puck would be my answer to this question, she wasn't around very long, but I got attached to Valiant, and I'm really happy she survived.
Oh.
Because, yeah, Puck, I don't know what his future would have been.
Any other thoughts on one character you'd like to have survived?
I'm very glad Olgrim survived. You know, he was definitely, you know, I think kind of what's best in all of us sort of thing. But failing that, Elma.
Well, that's a touching sentiment. I like that. That's very. I like that. Heartfelt.
And I say Elma mostly because, like, you know, not only because I was playing him, but like Morian had his thing for him. So like, you know, to have been able to kill Morian and survive him would have been, you know, a great fu to Morian. And
Morian was disappointed. He shows up.
Yeah.
He's like, "Where's Elma? What's going on? It's go time."
Actually, it should have. I was kind of partly feeling this, but Elmon disappears in the sphere, and then Morian joins in. I half expected you to be like, "What are you doing here?" You know, that kind of thing.
I kind of wondered if there might have been a little like showdown in the sphere.
I sort of knew
waiting for it.
That wasn't going to happen.
By the way, I did not personally, as Tom, like having to deliver Morian's taunt that he did. About him making Puck suffer and beg, which he was absolutely lying about. He has no control over any of that. Okay, good. Just in case any listeners are worried about Puck. Did you have anyone, Christopher, that you would think of?
I think I mentioned it before. I wanted Elmon to survive because I thought that there were two big reasons. One was Morian. That is just a great carryover of justice, if you will. The other was just this... The elves became this part of the city, which in my mind was like this big, incorporated, kind of protected embassy, if you will. And that had its own story that was developing. It was protected. It was sanctuary. They were something. They had lore to them. It wasn't just an offhanded inn or something like that. And so when you started interacting with... Glennerin, it started taking on a shape which I was really starting to enjoy. Even though, and I have to say and be completely honest, I was very annoyed at your secrecy with the, no, I'm not going to tell them about this. They could come anytime. No, I'm not going to. I wanted to be more a part of that. But I was like, I can't be a part of that. So, but yes.
Had it become relevant, Elmon would have made more of a point of it. And been like, go here and like, you know, like you can go there, sort of thing.
You would give your permission, and then you would go.
Yeah. But you know, he, you know, as he was wont to do, he would hold things a little close to the vest. But would have given that if it proved, you know, if he felt like it was something that would have been, you know, not necessarily necessary, but would have been beneficial to the party. He was sort of holding that as an ace up his sleeve and been like, yeah, go, you know, the door will open for you, just go, sort of thing.
The world's ending, we need a spot, you're the man. I got it.
I, by the way, had originally intended Arithil's home and the elves to be just a one-off. location.
Yeah,
I didn't expect it.
Why did you? What compelled you to develop that storyline?
It just kept coming back. They were a useful part of the story, and then how I design the campaign stuff is I've got different organizations or individuals or groups that have their own objectives, and I know they're moving towards A or B or whatever they're doing, and you guys then start influencing and hopefully causing chaos for these or helping these others. And I don't know, something about that meeting with them, and there was a regalness to it. I was like, oh, this little Lothlorien place is kind of cooler than I thought. I'm going to add them onto here. And they didn't really have any strong objective. They're happy where they're at. But now that allowed them to be, if I'm imagining all of these groups as like some sort of chart with circles of different groups, that allowed them to be a target for some of these other groups in my mind as I'm thinking as the campaign goes on, because it creates this lively sense of the world in my mind of the world goes on. So yeah, they just became a useful part of that process, and they kept getting visited.
With what you just said, that reminds me of something that I wanted to bring up, not so much a question, it's just a comment. When we all originally got our little side quests at the beginning, and then we took care of a couple, and then Elmon's was to, unfortunately I forget his name now, I don't have my notes in front of me.
Carpenter guy. Woodworker
was he
guy.
The carpenter? Yeah. Okay, well, he was a merchant trader guy.
Yeah, he gave you the arrows right from the bat, and he made furniture with his wife type thing.
Yeah, and then when we didn't do his mission, and then he went to go do it, and then we went to go try and find him, and he had been killed. Like, that was the first moment that I really realized your campaign world was moving individually from us.
Yeah.
And was a realization for me. It also, like, I spent a couple days, that night, I had trouble sleeping because I felt so damn responsible for
not your character, not Elmon. You, Chris, felt bad about
because he died because of
your inaction,
right? And so that was sort of a turning point for Elmon as well. Of kind of, it made him more driven to objective, like to complete these objectives, and to try and disseminate what was more important and what needed to get done versus what maybe could be, put off. Because that was my first realization as a player, realizing that our actions or inactions have real consequences.
Oh, yeah.
Our inactions, us ignoring a quest, like, it's not like World of Warcraft. It'll be sitting there a month from now on our quest
with
log.
With an exclamation point still over the guy.
Exactly. And so that's an amazing part of, your storytelling ability to have all of those parts going on in your mind that we don't even know about, moving towards their own goals and objectives. And that's one of the things that I like as a player playing with you as a DM.
Thanks. Yeah. It's, like I said, I have these groups, they have their goals, and I like to give you guys more than one quest so that you will not have time. And so I don't know what you're going to do, and that, okay, they're going to go for this, so then this happens over here. A great example of that to me is you guys spent 2-3 episodes trying to work your way into the cult as cultists. Yeah. They then asked too much of you. You decided we can't keep going with this. And then it just kind of petered out. All that energy and effort. And then at that exact same time, Morian arc started to come in more and more prominence, and you went that way. This is not a good decision or bad decision. That's where your energy went. And I'm like, okay, the cult now has free reign. They're going to meet this objective by this time, this objective by this time. And so, okay, they have free reign now to go to the Bane Warrens. They're going to find that wish ring. They're going to get inside. They're going to understand how they're going to use the moon. Everything just started going. And that's why they were able to be as successful as they were. They were not cut up short way earlier. Very interesting to me. I like that. To Eric's last question, for me, if there was one character that participated in the campaign to survive, if it was any one character who was involved in any of this, for me, it would be a Marielle. I know it's not a player, but a Marielle who would survive. if there was only one person involved in this story who could come walk away, it would be her, because she was very interesting to me, because she came from that faraway time with Morian and knew him personally way back then. She was a bad guy and reformed herself, which is she really was. She was.
Towards the end, Elmon actually sort of felt like she was actually like not working against us. Like she, you know, he definitely felt like she was working to her own ends, but they were compatible with what our ends were. You know, like his first meeting, he was like, "We're gonna have to kill her. Like, do we just try and kill her now, or do we have to kill her later?" Sort of.
How
thing.
innocent is she?
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like, you know, she's not that innocent. But as the more he got to know her, the more he felt like she was actually not evil.
Avius, when he first met her, questioned her, and then over time came to believe that she was just using us as pawns, and that she was going to, once we got Morian out of the way, she was going to step in.
Yeah, I mean, Elmon definitely believed that she was using us to her own ends, but towards the end, he definitely believed that those ends weren't incompatible with what the party's goals were. So,
for me, that was the seed I wanted to kind of plant and throw you off, was her filling in, when in reality, she was a helpful character. On her end, she's now stuck with this stigma of, I surround myself with dead people, that's where I get all my power, but I want to be a good person, so people won't like me. Her entire goal was to get involved in the community. That's why she had that party and other connections. She wanted to go up the social ladder to be, I think, part of a tribunal, one of the 3 branches of government. She wanted to be an actual leader of the city and not a terrorizing leader, so that's why she was helping a lot. All right, do you guys have any other questions?
yes.
You got a lot of plot questions?
Yeah, so let's get to the one that's been bugging me the most. We'll start at the end. The dagger that Elmon had that Glenn gave him. What was that for?
The dagger could have been used to finally slay Morian, because he's an undead guy,
right?
And it's incredibly difficult to kill him. It came from his time way back when, and was used in the battle with the Dread One long ago, and it could have killed him. Not if he was just stabbed, but it could have done 2 things. One, if it was the finishing blow, it would have ended him.
Right.
Otherwise, he would have just gone away, and, you know, the next season, there's level 1 heroes are dealing with Morian 1,000 years later, yeah. The other thing it would have done is it would have cut his shield in half.
Okay.
His little wispy shield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So 2 rounds, and the shield would have been gone.
So second question, related. Would have he? So when he got put in the bubble, and then pushed towards the Underdark / Entropy Spear.
Mm-hmm.
If he had gone into the Underdark, would have he been gone?
Yes.
And second question, in your mind, with the way things, with what you had planned, when he went into the entropy sphere, you had said something to the effect that, you know, he was executing his plan earlier than he intended,
yes.
But this was his plan all along. Was there any way for us as the party to have avoided him getting into the entropy sphere?
Not pushed towards it?
Not pushing him towards it would be the first step.
But failing, yeah. But, you know, like, had we cornered him and, like, you know, Elmon and the dagger still been in play and, you know, done that, would have he still found a way to get to the entropy sphere and then have to deal with that?
But that's entirely just up to that battle. I mean, you guys could have physically gotten in the way. He did have, I don't know. To answer that, he had a dimension door, that 500-foot teleport.
Okay.
So he could have.
Maybe, but it would have been.
No, but I think he used up that spell level. But anyways, he had some mobility, but it was all just more battle encounter. Can you physically get in the way?
Okay.
But imagine me as the GM, my concern as this big character is being rolled towards his goal and the one substance that the Underdark that can end him. And I'm just like, what's going to happen? What? Oh my God. It was a very interesting moment.
Going back to that room, the teleportation circle, where were those demons going?
Oh, good question.
And
So
his Skippy's still there guarding. There was one
Do
cultist
nothing?
left.
Yeah.
there's things that happen behind the scenes, again, as we said, if you're not acting towards it. One of which is Crooked Nose. You remember Crooked Nose,
Yeah.
the cultist? He was not in the final battle.
Nope.
Yeah.
Because he was caught by Morien doing another encounter I totally expected you guys to be involved in on the we're joining the cult arc, which never took off. And there was a big encounter, there was a big plan. He was involved in that, and Morien's agents got involved in that, and he was killed there. And from that, Morien learned the cultists' plan that involved using the entropy sphere to bring in the Valis moon, which would cause a lot of chaos to magic, which should just let him zip right through the whole Lacian Gate issue. So I'm getting to your... Did you have...
A bunch of hands just went up.
Yeah. Okay. So all that's going on. The cultists' plan was to bring this moon in using the entropy sphere. A lot of people died to make that happen. And it does two things. One, it's got a huge magic concept to it, so it threw off all the spells, which we didn't have too many bad chaotic effects from it.
That did keep me, though, with the craziness, whatnot, and with the prior problem with teleporting. I had my hand covering my dimension door spell and whatnot, so I was not tempted to use it at all. Because I was like, oh, I'm in the Underdark. Whatever. Anyway,
so the goal you're asking, so what was the goal of the teleportation? It's all connected to their mantra. You remember their mantra? What's their mantra?
Seven will come, seven will fall.
Yeah. So the 7 who came are the 7 angels, each in a temple. Those were not castles or fortresses. Those were temples on the moon. And they were sending those demons to kill those 7 angels. Once those were done, the angels would each release a huge golden chain. Once all 7 chains were released, the evil powers that the chaos cultists believed in would be set loose upon the world. That was a much, much more dire enemy than Morien. They're both bad. And Morien knew that, and that's why his first thing when he got into the entropy sphere is get that moon the hell out of the way. So the concept is that moon was always there and was always keeping these powers at bay that are in the world you're in, and the moon was protected by being sent far, 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 far away, never to return. But then the cultists brought it back.
So the cultists, I had always kind of thought the cultists' end was to help bring Morien. But Morien was just using what the cultists, he was like piggybacking on what the cultists were doing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They were...
I didn't realize that either.
Oh, well, I'm great DM. So the cultists had their god, their
Oh, we didn't explore that story
that's
completely
true.
either.
They had their goal of bringing forth their chaos god type things. Don't sue me, Games Workshop. Of bringing their gods to cause chaos. Morien's an entire different guy. And then also, I think there was some confusion maybe by you, Tim, or someone else. Morien was not the fellow in the Necropolis. That was an entirely different character who was pissed off that this Morien's returning, and he's like, I want to be the guy who gets the city, but I can't leave the Necropolis. So there were lots of different factions that are going on in the city.
So another question then.
Of which, if I could say real fast, I was always bummed you guys didn't have a reason to go to the Dark Reliquary and go down in there where that dude and his people were all at, because that was another fun little dungeon area. But that's high level stuff. Yeah.
So was the Dark Reliquary the sewer part?
No,
that's more.
Nope.
Okay, so that's where Morien was the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Was in there. And when we found that secret passage, like we were like second or third level,
Yeah, this was in the sewer area.
Yeah.
Sewer campaign part.
Right. And we found the secret door that went into Morian's lair that started this whole thing. Like, what were you thinking to get us in there? Like.
Why the hell did I let you in there?
Yeah.
I got you.
We found the door.
Yeah,
I got a natural 20 on investigation.
Yeah.
Ulgrim did.
Yeah, Ulgrim.
Somebody
Yeah.
did.
I mean,
It's all
did we
Ulgrim's
just
fault.
happen to
We
get
could have
the
all
critical
survived, lived
success
happily.
where that door was?
Yeah, well,
like, how did that play
I'll
out?
say a couple things in my defense. If you're in the city of Tallis, no matter where you're at, there is something much darker beneath your feet. And then if you walk down some stairs and go into a dangerous sewer, there is something still darker beneath your feet. And if you go down into a dungeon, if you go down underneath that to a cave, you go down underneath that too, there's always something darker and deeper. So I wanted to make sure I could start to get some of that concept. We've been doing kind of your standard, not low fantasy, but your Lankmar style city adventures, thieves, merchants, that kind of stuff. I wanted to start to show you that there's other stuff down here. And I also wanted to make sure I was getting across that this is not another Warcraft reference. A zone A goes to zone B. Let's take care of this stuff. You can totally just go off the rails and get to areas you have no business being and could get killed from. Or are you just going to stay there and, well, Tom clearly has every encounter balanced perfectly for us. We're totally fine. Let's fight. And luckily you guys were like, no, let's get out. And I think who was the slow one in that one?
That would be Avius.
Avius, and Elmon went back to kind of guard and protect him on the way.
But he didn't do a good job.
I mean, he did end up letting Avius die, but then...
Wait, no, I think it was determined that Ulgrim was actually the slowest.
But he got on.
I had to get on Puck.
Riding Bareback was the name of that
Riding
episode.
Bareback,
Yeah.
Episode 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought Avius was going down that one for sure.
And
And he did.
I have only one more question.
Only one more. Wait on.
Did the Goblin Boglig Union result in Goblix?
Yes.
Okay.
And
You got to cover up.
yeah. And not only that, but that happened, and then we did like 3 months went by. You worked on the manor. I mean, that's like a couple generations of Bogligs
Yeah,
at that point. So Pug has like great grand frogs at that point.
Good times.
That's what I thought.
All right, I have some questions I've been wanting to know. We can all agree, I think, that role-playing's pretty fun, but why do you guys care about making it into a podcast to share with other people? Why go through that extra effort?
The fame.
Yeah, I got
The money.
I'm an egomaniac. This is about me. Don't care who listens. No.
It's fun to have something to like point someone towards.
Oh, to show what you're
To
doing?
show like, hey, this is like what I'm doing. And it's some people in my life I'm super surprised, like love the hell out of it, who've never played before, and this has piqued their interest. But yeah, just having something that will outlive us all is
That's cool.
pretty awesome.
That's deep. Wow.
Yeah. A fully contained campaign from
Or
beginning to
until
end.
somebody stops paying for the web services.
True.
Our AI overlords will
Goes to
have
the
it
dark
covered.
web. For me, it's just to explain my absences to my wife. So
You have court-ordered proof.
what was the question? The question was,
Why put the extra effort into making this into a podcast? Why not just do role playing like we always do in the dining room? Why go to the effort of getting all these mics, all this equipment, all of the mixing, all the audio, dealing with website? Why do that?
for me, it serves on a number of different levels, but I really like involving people. Can't see them, that's fine. Hello, everyone. But getting them involved and then having this kind of dialogue, not just you guys, but the questions that we're getting now, the interest, entertaining is a big driving force. I love having a story, creating a story, introducing a story, and having someone love it. Or even every now and then getting some word like wow, this affected me. I was in tears, or this made me angry, and
Or this made me want to try role playing myself for the first time. We've
which
gotten
is one
several
we
of
got
those.
recently.
People
Yeah,
into
so
role-playing. We like there's a group that now has done their first role playing game.
That's
because
pretty
of us.
cool.
How awesome
Yeah.
is that?
yeah, so that's my take on it there.
All right, here's my next question. What was the most exciting battle we had, in your opinion?
I can't believe we've gone this long without talking about it, but the fucking Kraken.
Oh,
yeah.
That was our
yeah.
first, that was really our first moment where we were like, we may not win this fight.
That was the first time we ran into legendary actions.
Yeah.
I believe.
That was going to be mine, too.
yeah.
Yeah.
For on a DM perspective of here's this crazy physical challenge of the 5 stones and you're racing around these lizards and that whole thing, that's great. That was done. But it's like, nope. Now there's an orc battle and orcs come in. It's like, whoa, 2-tiered thing. And then the orcs. And then halfway through that, nope.
Yeah.
Now comes this I love that.
I remember in that battle, I was a little frustrated with Olgrim because he, instead of allying with the orcs that could have been on our side, he kept attacking the thing that wanted to attack the Kraken, and it's like the Kraken's the bad thing that we need to get rid of. Then we can kill the orcs. But nope, Olgrim stuck to his guns and kept attacking that orc.
I remember that. That was crazy ass
We had
battle.
2 uses of the ring back to back in that fight.
Oh my god.
Did back to back? Was that even possible?
No, it had to be a
Because you had
tune.
to attune.
Oh,
so,
that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
But
was
didn't-
used.
Because I know Puck died, came back.
Uh-huh.
Did you get knocked out in that
I think I was unconscious at one point.
Unconscious, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how
It's half the party down in one
Yeah.
battle.
And then Olgrim got eaten.
Yeah.
I don't, did he get eaten or
Swallowed.
or did he force feed himself into?
Well, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, you were swallowed, voluntarily or not.
No, that was a good fight. That was awesome.
Would everyone agree that was the most, or was there other?
I mean-
what was another big for you? Your exciting battle, big one.
I like that one. That's a good one.
But
I love sea battles. So
Oh yeah.
when it came down to it, aside from how it ended and whatnot, visually in my mind, it played out monstrous ships, orcs piled on the decks, loading up cannons and whatnot, and we're fleeing like hell as best we can. They're still catching up. There's this swarm of orcs on the shore. It was ugly all the way around, and that whole fight was, maybe it wasn't climactic, but
For sure was.
visually it was just so
If Rill hadn't
awesome.
done what he did, we were.
Even if Rill wasn't even there, just that whole thing was just an impressive.
For Avius and myself, my favorite battle, it wasn't a major battle, but it was the one with the other wizard.
that was
Yes.
a fun one.
Yeah.
There
When
you
you
go.
went toe to toe against that dude, that was
It was with, what was his name?
We never did wrap that up. Shit,
No.
I totally
Oh
forgot.
yeah, we left him in the church.
Yeah,
But that, I'm talking. Everybody knows.
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
talking about. That was mine because it was like
it was a
I
wizard's
felt like
duel.
I got to do something like meaningful. I don't know. I felt like I get to use.
You were on your own. That was
Yeah.
no backup.
Nobody else
Yeah,
around.
Yeah.
That was
I put him in a bubble and roll him away.
that's always an
awesome
ignoble
battle
defeat.
to listen to the back and forth that you had, and you each counterspelling each other and stuff like that. That was like
I
that.
cast counterspell. Counterspell.
Yeah, that was really awesome to actually listen to.
That's like kids going, "Nuh-uh."
One of my favorite battles, even though it was more a massacre, was the Ivory Swords when we went in and just frickin' obliterated them. That was like for killing what's his face that I can't remember
Your
the
friend.
name of.
Very important friend.
Yes. It was like episode, I don't know, whatever.
Oh, this wasn't the bar. This was outside the city. Got it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Whenever we went to go try to free the guy who gave me the the side quest.
Yeah.
And just when we decided that nobody lives, and just killed
Except
everybody.
for
We let the one guy go.
Al Jespin.
Oh, yeah.
Jespin.
Yeah.
Al Jespin.
Yes, and we got El Despin. Yes.
The ivory sword were supposed to be one of those, don't mess with them. You need to acquiesce to what they want. They rule those woods out there. And hopefully you guys don't get your butts kicked. But then you didn't go through on that quest line. And I said, I'm just going to keep them at that same power level. And now, wow, you guys are kind of coming up. You might be able to actually win. Okay, now you guys are equal to them. More sessions go by. Wow, you guys are more powerful. And now you guys are way powerful. And then you finally meet them. I'm like, I'm going to play them the same damn way that they own this forest. And they got their asses kicked big time.
I think that was one of the first uses of Fireball, too.
It was a good use.
And the clock tower, of course.
It was an exciting battle.
With the Gray Ascent.
The Royal Rumble.
Where, Elmon put an arrow into Puck's back and then got punched later for...
Maybe his fireballed Elmon.
Yeah, all that stuff.
So going back to the orcs and the warship thing.
Yeah.
If it ever seemed odd to you guys or anyone listening why there's this big mention of orcs and there's this big quest of go out there and scout, and you guys just went out there, risked all your lives, immediately came back and just said, yeah, there's orcs. There was a lot more to that that was there as available. Those warships were absolutely more powerful than your ship, and it was a matter of can you get away or not? Can you battle them? I didn't think you were going to be able to battle them successfully. Do they split up the party? Do they capture some of you? Do some of you get killed? That was not a fair battle for you. As I was very interested to see what was going to happen with that. And there was a whole large orc warband on further out east in multiple encounters I set up there. There was a gold dragon you guys could have allied with that was out there. And so I'm just like, this is going to be interesting. And then all hell breaks loose and we have giant halfling throwing himself off the cliff edge. Elmon split up in the group and I'm like, okay, this is not what I was expecting, which is always happens. And then the boat chase is happening. I'm like, wow, even Elmon's not here. This is going to be even worse than I thought. And then friggin' Rill just does amazing heat metal. And I'm like, this is totally defeats the entire encounter, but it's so cool. You gotta let it play. So you saved a lot of interesting chaos in that as well.
I'm only hurt by the fact that we couldn't see a gold dragon.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what was the thing? So in relation to that battle, when we were going up the cliff face, that was at the top of it. That the device. What was that?
Was that?
No, that was summoning. That was a navigational device. That was a VOR navigational device for their warships to get them to where they needed to be closer to the city. So they had a couple of those networked along the coast.
Okay.
I think one other interesting battle was going down into the Chaos Dungeon with that Chaos Demon.
Yeah, we never
and then
revisited him.
No, we didn't. And then finding and rescuing Rill. And having
was that there?
No, rescuing Olgrim.
Sorry, Olgrim.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite music cues early on. The door kicks open and Elmon's standing there, and then the drums just go, dum 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 dum. Like, here we go. I loved it.
That was well done.
Oh, thought of another question.
All right. You had also mentioned Gray Ascent being a great battle.
Yeah.
The one that really freaked me out with the Gray Ascent was all these great things, the people oiling themselves up and slipping through bars, all sorts of chaos going on. Puck is totally messed up.
Olgrim.
Puck has like 0 hit points and 2 death saves. So 1 more hit point of damage and he's dead. That's how he starts that session.
Yeah, that was because we had a week in between.
Oh yeah,
so I sat with that for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm totally expecting you to die. Totally. My thought was Puck's gonna die. There's about a 75% chance Puck's gonna die. And if he does and things start to cascade, and if Christopher decides not to escape or not to be secretive about it and decides to be confrontational with the Gray Ascent, we probably have a 20-25% chance of a total party wipe. That was also a concern, but it's out of my hands. It's you guys going at each other. So, but what really ramped that up is the dramatic scene when Olgrim points his sword at Puck, who's unconscious on the ground, and says, like, "Let me go," or "Stop fighting me," or something like that, or I'll kill the goblin.
Elmon, I think, had the Gray Ascent at that point.
Oh, it said like come back or something.
Yeah.
And so that was huge. That's a threat, and I'm like, wow. And then you say I run off, and then Christopher as Olgrim, you say I stab Puck. And then that was it. And you just turned away and like started writing like it was done. And I'm like, holy cow, this is insane. Yeah. So I just verified your stab. I just want to make clear you're stabbing Puck right now. And you're like, yeah. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Avius has made some efforts to try and stop him. All right, maybe I won't. Like, wow, that was insane to me. That was a very exciting battle for me.
Question about that. Remove curse, which we had obviously had some hints by getting the scroll and other things that we missed. Were there more hints out there of how to defeat the Gray Ascent with the remove curse that would have prevented that from happening?
Yeah, the remove curse would not have removed it. It would have suspended it.
Right, allowed us to remove it, and then we could have at least not been compelled by it in that moment, right?
For a bit, and then the person, the yearning would come back, like a couple hours later. So it would have helped. But there was nothing in advance about it other than just warnings about the guy, I don't know, just apologizing and that kind of stuff. But no, it would have been a very challenging situation of how do we get rid of this, researching it while it's in the party or on the loose. And I never expected it to be on anyone's hands. The dude got killed and got separated on this fencing thing, splattered right in front of Olgrim. And I'm like, okay, this just got interesting. How do we ramp this up?
I have a little thing I want to throw in. I want to play a little a short if Olgrim had gotten away with this thing, what was your intent with Olgrim and the Gray Ascent?
Yeah. So if Olgrim had gotten away, you would have lost control of him. He would have been an NPC on my part. Mm-hmm. You probably would have spoken, you would have taken control every now and again, but he would not have been a regular part of the group. He would now be another one of those circle group organizations. It would be Olgrim and the Gray Ascent, and then I would let you decide maybe what are some of his now affected goals. And essentially the Gray Ascent makes you do whatever you do better, but in a darkish kind of a way. So the Tinkerer made evil, clockwork things, whatever it was. So we would decide, what would be for Olgrim, and he would now become an NPC threat. He could have become an enemy for the group throughout the whole campaign. Oh,
almost would have definitely become an enemy, because we would have had to, felt like we had to get the Gray Ascent back. And Puck brought himself. If Olgrim had turned against us, could Puck have allowed...
Think of that drama, multiple battles, trying to chase him down. You finally get him in the evil castle, and it's like Puck versus Olgrim.
It's hard to say, but I don't...
You were the chosen one, Anakin!
I mean, Elmon could have done it, but... Because he had the high ground, but...
So none of those other things at Malil's auction were Banes?
Nope.
I knew they weren't.
Nope.
I knew we were wasting time on it.
Oh, we wasted
Not me. I was keeping notes. I was like, okay, so Bill from accounting, he has this and this.
I was too.
We've got to track these people down.
I kept... eventually I stopped thinking about it, but for the first... even up through the Gray Ascent, I was still like, now when are we going to go back to that one book? And then there's that necklace, and there's the... Yeah.
Nope. All right, next question. The campaign took place mostly in one city. So what was the most interesting location we adventured in your mind? Just location-wise.
It was fun. But yeah, getting outside, going to the temple with the Lacian Gate, where we met ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was probably one of the most interesting places.
That was just a weird side quest. I was expecting you guys to skip right by.
Yeah, no, that was really interesting. That was probably one of the more interesting places that I felt like we were. outside of the city.
I thought it was interesting that in that moment, you guys went in there and you found one of the brass-plated teleportation portal type things that went to the necropolis domed basement before you even knew what the necropolis was. I like that concept.
Yeah.
I loved Middlehawks. I loved it. It was awesome. I want to go there. But there was some weird stuff like right at the beginning, like when we first went to Middlehawks and there was that attack. Like there was stuff that Puck wanted to revisit and then just never got a chance. But you mentioned like the twins, the two sisters.
The sisters?
I wanted to get after that and it just never. There was never an opportune
What
moment.
twins?
They weren't twins, but there's a group called the Sisters.
Yeah.
The sisters, yeah.
You'd have to go back and listen to episode 1 or I think it was in the first episode.
Is one of those quick mentions. Yeah.
I was like, oh.
I wanted
Because
them.
they were like wrestling a giant or a troll.
Yeah, troll.
Yeah.
I wanted
It was
them to be
something
prominent.
he just like mentioned off the cuff, and I'm like, oh, that sounds
It's
interesting.
one of my favorite things. There's lots of little foreshadowing. In our previous campaigns I've done a lot of big arcing stuff with lots of foreshadowing, and I didn't want to do too much of that with this one, but I ended up still doing it. But I wanted this, since we're going to D&D and we're going to do a podcast, I said, let's just do a classic high adventure fun fantasy. So I try to do too much, but then I would just drop these quick little lines where maybe the first thing in a list of 4 locations was absolutely critical and the other 3 were nothing. And I love doing that stuff.
Yeah, you do.
Notes save lives.
Uh-huh.
Any other interesting locations that really came to mind? Middlehawks was interesting. I wanted that to be a focal point too. For
Oh,
the
that's
campaign.
great.
I don't think it got described well, but I didn't like it.
But I think it's kind of like interpreting what it is. In all the times that we kept visiting Middlehawks, it became a warm, comfortable place. Why? Nor was there. Olgrim was there. It was seen as a place. We didn't describe it, but it was always seen as a place like this is where you could go.
It was home base. It was
where everyone knew your name.
Yeah.
That kind of
I completely have a floor plan of Middlehawks in my head.
Really?
Which is weird because the house that we got, the Lenoran, like
You mean
I had,
Yabeo Manor?
shut your mouth.
No.
Like I don't
Real
even have,
man.
I don't have a
Didn't leave it
layout in
Yabeo
my
Manor
head.
for-
Oh, really?
Out
Very
of
weird.
respect for Elma? Just terrible. Terrible.
Respect Adamo. He just didn't like the name of your team.
What was the place? I was talking about abstracts. Sorry. We never went there. So I don't know if it counts. But the dwarven
Coolest place you never went.
Caladel.
every time it was talked about, and there were just little hints. It wasn't like a big overarching description, but I have in my mind 2 red lanterns
Yes.
The
sitting
red
someplace
lanterns.
and
Green steel.
still
Yep.
and all these just little hints as to what this place could possibly be was very intriguing to me. So though we didn't visit, that would probably be one of my favorites.
Yeah. And you guys almost went that route, following that dwarf kind of around near his home to go to the Bane Warrens, where he just had a completely sealed off exit that he knew of. And you guys are like, nah, we actually know the way. That was going to be interesting. And that would have been wasted several precious days with the world going on. I was like, oh, this could get bad. Just the decision to follow this guy. Ooh, very interesting. But yeah, that place intrigued me too. Again, there's always something more interesting beneath your feet there.
Yes.
And imagine for me, you guys, it's just really exciting for me. You guys are, first level, second level, third level, and you're episode 4 or 5, you're having fun out in the city doing fun things. And I can't wait for you to get down a tier and down beneath that one. And there's things that affect, I was always just excited. Or not knowing that there's a hand and a wrist in a box in your possession that goes to a Bane Warrens that you know nothing about, that goes up to a spire you know nothing about, and may not ever, and won't for like 30 more episodes.
Speaking of which, what was the scroll?
Scroll was nonsense. Nothing.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. Yep.
Yeah.
Because you almost did.
I do have a question. maybe we talked about it. I don't know if we did. What would come of you if you failed your corruption?
Oh, if you failed your corruption?
Yes.
It was going to be a concept of kind of like the Gray Ascent, but I don't think I have them here. It was going to be cryptic notes handed over to you so that you would, people would immediately start not trusting you because I would give you a note.
Of course.
And then you would be working slowly against the group slowly over time until they could take action. And the remove curse at that point might be able to help in some way. But yeah, it was just going to be more of a secretive, slowly pull the group apart type effort.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the goal behind that.
What happened to Pyreal?
Like his resolution or his beginning? For Pyreal, he continues to pay the price of him trying to atone for his dark past. So he's just stays on the. He's still free. He's still staying on the boat.
Incorporated him as an ally.
Say that again.
Could have we recruited him as an ally? Would have he gone down to the Bane Warrens with us?
It's unlikely, but possible. But he was not eager at all to go back there. He wanted to get totally away from that.
I'd kind of wanted to think about that, about having him as an ally.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if that was a good idea or not.
Yeah.
Or if he even would have come, because it wasn't.
I was ready for, again, a big throwdown.
Yeah.
His first thing was, he tells the captain, I need you to do me a favor. I don't ask for much. Get you and your men off the boat. And then, all right, you guys ready? And you're like, let's talk. And then the boat settled down in I was ready for
When the music started to swell, we're like, no. We've got better.
Push real in and say, talk your way out of it. Talk our way out of this.
You mentioned Pyreal. Is there another NPC you think would have made a good addition to the group?
I always thought
Morian.
You mean like Hazelton at the end?
no.
He could have saved Elf if there was anyone who could have said, "Don't lick the sphere."
It's true.
It would have been Mr. Hazelton. But you said, "No, let's leave him behind."
You mock his name, but you could have saved your skin.
I tried to bring him with us, and you didn't want him to come.
No.
I was the one that was adamant about leaving him behind.
Okay, but I tried to bring him, and I was like he's free hit points. Let's bring him.
Did not put up with his nonsense.
Yeah, you wanted to bring him as a meat puppet, not
as a meat shield. Thank you, but yeah. So
the listeners are like, we just heard this episode. We know exactly. Why don't you know?
But going back to your original question, Tom. Going back to how you originally described her, I was always fascinated with Valiant. Even way before we even knew her name. And I was thrilled when I got the chance to play her.
One of my favorites is when you had the Gray Ascent and you tell Priest Day One about it, and he's like, okay, I don't want to mess with it. Go to the Pale Tower. And you're just walking there, and she just appears out of nowhere halfway there and just falls in line. Doesn't talk to you, doesn't want to touch it, and she's just ready to kill anyone else who approaches you. I thought that was pretty slick.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I didn't quite get in the final battle as Valiant, you were calling out, it sounded like it was the names of the heroes, but there was also a different name.
So her friend, when we came upon Valiant, that's why I asked you at the beginning of
yeah.
Her scissor sister.
Yes. But her friend who died in her arms.
When you found her friend died.
That's why I asked
in the Bane
because
Wards.
I did not write down her name, and I had you off mic.
That's right.
You gave me her name.
That's
and I
right.
held on to it for a little bit.
So you were called.
Yenda.
Yeah, so you were for her.
For her again.
And then it became for her and
vengeance.
Puck, and then for her, Puck, and Elma, and for Elma, Elma, and Avius.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I had that planned a little bit ahead of time.
All right. What regret do you guys have about the campaign? Something you didn't get to do, or something we didn't pursue as a group?
I have two. The first one was missing. What was Morian?
CR?
Lysiar with the arrow that would have killed her before Puck died.
With 4 hit points remaining.
4 hit points
brutal.
remaining. It was a huge regret of Elmont's. and then stabbing the entropy sphere.
Not in that order.
Sort of in that order, actually.
Avius, I guess it's a regret. It's not really. I mean, I tried to do immolation on the CR. Would have done the gobs of damage as well, and I rolled a 1.
I think she rolled a 20.
Or she rolled
Yeah,
a
yeah.
20.
Yeah. Which again is not part of the official rules, but it aids these
Sure.
easy moments.
Rolled a 20 and totally negated the entire spell.
Level
No
5
damage
spell.
whatsoever, and same thing. Could have possibly saved Puck's life.
Yeah.
So
That's what, 6d8 damage when it goes off if you don't resist? Something like that?
it was huge.
Yeah,
Never
I think
cast
it's
again.
8d6, but or something like that.
something like that.
Yeah, but
It was huge.
It's a ton of damage.
Yeah, but I like that someone, and you guys did it too for some saves. You can just completely ignore a half damage even effect. It's not rules as written, but I think it's interesting because it's crazy drama resulted out of it.
One of the coolest times that happened was when, at least for me, when we were facing the down in the Chaos Dungeon, facing the chains,
Mm-hmm.
and Elmon rolled a 20 when the chains were ripping around trying to hit him, so he was able to just, like, weave right through him. But regrets?
That was a scary time.
Yeah.
The Necropolis.
Yeah, it was close.
I've got my regret. What's your regret?
I don't really have. I'm trying to think of one, and I'm
got
not-
no regrets.
Bog legs.
I
Trust
regret
me, he
nothing.
That
doesn't
was
regret
forced
that.
on Puck a little bit. I don't remember if it was a roll or what.
I mean, you gotta have the chub, you know.
Takes 2 to tango.
Yeah.
I think you made
Olgrim got a natural
Constitution
20 on that one.
saving
That's all I know.
Yeah.
What Solgrims or Reels?
Or Christopher's.
No, Olgrim's. And I had brought it up to the group before, so you guys have heard this, but I know the listeners haven't. This was during the soliloquy with Puck wrapping everything up, and it was, man, it's still emotional. But
What soliloquy?
it was him saying, about how he had injured Puck, couldn't forgive himself.
Oh.
This is my time.
This is when you were leaving the group?
Leaving the group, yeah. And it was trying to come up with that stuff on the fly is just difficult. So it's
Brutal.
playing in the moment. But the one part, I left the group that night. I drove home and playing it back in my head, and I'm like, I came up with a whole part of the conversation that I meant to put in, and I didn't get to say it. And it was about how the sword itself was actually commonly misnamed as Sword of Vengeance is what
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
but it was a Sword of Second Chances.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that's powerful, and that would have been cool to throw in there. But
It was a moving speech, though.
No, that was great. Yeah, it got the real dusty down
oh
here.
yeah, I'm not crying, you're crying.
And we've said this recently off the air, but the final speech of the entire campaign was fantastic. So this was nothing planned on Olgrim/Christopher's part. I just set it up, and then I just threw it at him and crossed my fingers. I'm like, okay, you get the final really words as a character. When you raised a toast, you delivered a fantastic end. Yeah.
Olgrim had 3 just out of the park speeches. And I off mic, but all 3 of you, when Puck's funeral and the words you guys said was super touching and great, and a very good way for me to just let go.
I'm very impressed with everyone here. Everyone brings skills to the table and creativity, which I'll always admire. So and that's walking away from season 1 into season 2. Holy cow.
I've got questions from Frank E. in Arizona. Frank wants to know, why did you guys pick the characters you did at the start of the campaign?
God, that was my question. Okay, sorry. Thanks, Frank.
For me, and this campaign, this recording is only my second ever real time in a role-playing campaign. I've done a few one-offs, one-shots.
But then a big campaign before this.
Did the big space campaign previously. which I had mixed feelings about coming out of it. So,
in a good way.
Yeah, and it was out of my comfort zone to be a wizard. It was interesting. I thought it'd be really fun, but it was really out of my comfort zone because I knew I'd have to know, this and that and these mechanics and that and the spell castings, and it wouldn't have been just like, I have a sword and it cuts people, and
So you chose your character just to get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, I chose a character just to experiment and just to try it out, not knowing how well it would go. I think of course, we started this whole thing with a completely different gaming system, and that lured me in partly too because of how that system works.
So, yeah, if people don't know, we started this originally with the Genesis RPG.
Oh, yeah.
I was all about it. I think it was early 2018, December, January. I was doing a trip in Denmark, and I was really reading about it, very excited. They hadn't released their fantasy supplement for it yet. And then as soon as they did, the Terranoff fantasy supplement said, let's dive in and play this. And I loved their dice concept, but it was just sometimes just too convoluted. I just wanted that quick perception roll. Just boom. Did you see it or not? Let's keep moving. And the system's just not set up for that. Mm-hmm. So we played the first session of all of these characters and recorded it using that system, and it was fine, but it just wasn't as exciting and quick as fast paced. Yeah. And so I made the call, and it's like, hey, let's switch to 5th edition. Let's just do that. And I think it turned out extremely well, changing out of that. You were concerned about spells.
I was concerned about spell slots. I didn't like... With the Genesis system, there was ways to basically have unlimited spell casting, just like, someone would have unlimited swipes with a sword.
Yeah.
And I thought that felt more realistic or natural. And so the spell slot thing I did not like. But all in all, it worked out. I learned how to play with it. So. But that's why Avius was Avius.
Any other character creation?
I wanted to be physically. I wanted a character opposite of me in real life.
Oh,
and
he's pretty smart, Puck, right?
That's true. And yeah, I wanted to do like a gnome or something like. But then we together, Tom and I, came up with the goblin, which is definitely not in the 5th edition player's handbook. But
yeah, by default, yeah,
we made it work. And it was awesome.
And I warned you, I said, hey, this is a cool idea, like a shaman type goblin in a party, but there's racism that's going to be coming.
Sure. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, bring it on. Let's do that.
Yeah, and we haven't even mentioned that, but the whole arc of trying to save the goblins and orcs from the city was great. That was a cool twist.
Puck became a hero in their minds.
Yeah. Which everybody's. Goblin Force.
Okay.
Well, I'm kind of a one-trick pony. If there's anything I can do well as a drunk Scot, so talking like Ogrim, it's just second nature. So I just do it, and it just gets ridiculous. So almost every campaign, if you know me, I'm playing some dwarf craziness, whatever it is. So it's more of a go-to for me.
Yeah, like you're starting a podcast. Go to what's comfortable.
Yeah, go to what's comfortable.
It turned
out
well.
Just slip into the accent, and it's fine and fun. But yeah, he gets a little angry Scott every now and then.
Anything with Elmon's creation?
Yeah, so I'm started off as kind of a stealthy type character in the Terranoff system, and I'm a bit of a min-maxer by nature, which our DM hates. So kind of went a little back and forth with him between Rogue and Ranger, because kind of the original 5e without the supplemental, the Ranger, what in my reading was a little weak.
Very dry.
Like didn't keep pace at higher levels with some of the other characters, but after talking to Tom about it, kind of that was the concept that I wanted, but I was leaning more towards Rogue because I felt there would be more utility to it. but after kind of working with Tom for a while, really went with what I wanted the character to actually be. Kind of that concept in mind of sort of the outsider by nature, the kind of solitary creature that ends up with a group, and the not quite Aragorn type character, but sort of a little esque, and then just kind of Elmon just developed out of that. And I did have a backstory with him that never really
Came out.
got played out, but.
Mechanically, he ended up devastating. He was like a Gatling gun that he would just start to warm up and then just heavy damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised, actually, how much damage Elmon could do.
Yeah, there was definitely. I was really pleased with his DPS, if you will, and his just ability to sort of, especially once he got the bow and was able to negate the legendary actions.
That came in handy.
Didn't get to use
that
it
came
a
in
ton,
handy.
but in the battle against Carverath, it was
Carverath,
it was huge. Yeah, I mean, and that I loved that showcasing of Elmon's ability there against the dragon, and just like that was his niche battle. If there was ever going to be a battle, that was his battle to be in. That was the one. Shooting through the stalactites.
How big's that cavern? 500 feet? No problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
500 feet, 3/4 cover. I'm good.
That's not even long range.
I thought it was really cool that we had mentioned this concept of Ilnoran arrows way early in the campaign, and you had like a couple, like 3 of them, and they were super special. And then later on, you get the advanced ones, but we were really on. And then you got to meet the dude.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty sweet. Yep. And then you didn't even know who it was at the end. What was your name again? It's like, oh, come on!
I just figured it was some powerful dude that the elves knew that, like, they were friends with or something. I did not realize it was actually Ilnoran himself.
And the elves and that bow, and you might be kicking yourself for this one, that whole section of working with the elves, there was another mini little quest line I had prepared for that never came because your efforts went outside of the city for quite a while and then came back. That bow, game-wise, was going to be available to you many episodes earlier, was my intent, because I did not like, from a game designer perspective, watching you just rolling the die. Each turn, I'm going to roll. There was no decisions for you as the ranger, pretty much.
Right.
There was no.
A little one-trick pony.
Yeah. Do I take the risk here? Do I take this? And I was like, damn. And I got you a couple arrows to make a couple choices, but I was like, he needs a magic weapon that has lots of choices and some play. So I was glad you finally got something like that. Yeah, because otherwise it's just the same roll.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys are what spell? Do I heal?
But I mean, my roll is +10, so
it's a good roll.
Yeah.
But there's no choice to the rolls.
Yeah, it's do I want to fire an arrow or do I want to fire an arrow?
Yeah.
Or,
Frank also wants to know, what would you guys have done different knowing what you know now?
Not stab the entropy spell.
That's one.
Open the box, man. Open the box.
Open the box.
And,
just head right there.
Yeah. No. Well, no, it's a good question. Going back to the clock tower, not racing up that ladder.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That
Not going
was
to
awful.
the mountain to the dragon.
Why the hell did we even just go to Tullus? We just go someplace else. We'll be fine.
Not going to the dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, realizing mid-battle, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
That would have bought us,
You could
a
never
day
open the
or
gate
so?
in the first place.
Not shot the arrow at Morian to begin with. That started the whole rigmarole.
That's a great example of the evolving story of then it wasn't just a bad guy or a bad zone. It was, I hate Elmon, and now I'm going to go out of my way to mess with this dude. And now I'm stirred up. I'm going to get the hell out of here now. That wasn't on my mind to begin with when we started this whole campaign. I was like, oh, okay, things change. It was very interesting. I've got some from a John C. in Portland. For me, Tom, how much of the overall story did you have prepared in advance? What were some of the biggest rabbit holes the players went down that you weren't expecting? I had big arcs, ideas planned, but I don't know what you guys are going to do to things. It's one of those, the best laid plans when you go to war are immediately gone the moment the battle starts. So I'll create ideas. I might create a dungeon. I might create a branching plot with different ways to come off of it. If they go and find clues here, they can maybe go to A or B location, and I'll set those up. But then it's just like, whatever happens. Okay, great. Now we have a puppet show outside this place.
That was one of my favorites.
That was a great one.
Freaking
That was
smuggling.
so good.
Amazing.
So I'll prepare that kind of stuff. Layered over the top of that is an overarching theme of whatever, Morian or the Chaos Cults. In between that are these zones of organizations, and then at the details level are battle encounters. So that's kind of my approach to the things. For biggest rabbit holes, the one would be going down to the little Morian towers and then going deep into that. That would have been a strange one. A not so dramatic one, but a very interesting one to me was the rabbit hole of let's go check on that family we rescued from the barge. And you went to go check on them, and then the guy said, they weren't in the seamstress place anymore. And then the landlord kicked him out. And then you went to the landlord, this little skeevy guy, and he said, they're at the workhouse. I kicked him out of there. And you guys, I think, pursued or left or something after that. But at some point you got to that workhouse, and then you rescued him from there, and that was cool. I wasn't expecting that at all. And then you went and brought them into the manor. It was just so cool. I really liked that.
That was all Avius and Elmon.
Yeah, it was.
John wants to know, for everyone, what was your favorite, most memorable thing that another player did?
Well, let's see. Olgrim retiring. Was big.
But
Yeah. Olgrim getting eaten by the Kraken. For real, not real Puck. The Bogleg thing was pretty funny. Also, Puck doing really well in the challenge. The Bogleg challenge, him like getting multiple rings.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was a badass.
I was the only one that didn't get spilled into the mud.
For Avius, probably two things. The Wizard's Duel was awesome. And then him almost getting Oridithil's home blown up by just walking in. Probably the two more memorable things that I pull from him.
A weird one visual that for no reason sticks with me is just this incontinent old man just like, I have to pee! And he stands up.
That is just the one I was going to say.
And just starts this whole chaos of this
Promontory
battle.
point, he just gets up and...
like, we're 5 minutes into this campaign and we have not done jack shit yet.
Yeah, on that adventure, yeah.
It's like, come on, let's get going.
Go ahead.
No, go.
Rill and Elmon basically killing that dragon by themselves. Valiant bumblefucked her way through her first battle. It was terrible, just missing these
We were wondering
undead,
why
like
you even brought her.
right in her wheelhouse. Like, just couldn't get a hit.
I'd like to point out, Rill didn't actually touch the dragon the entire time.
No, but
essentially he ran for his
would have
life.
been a completely different.
Yeah, you did almost all that.
It would have been a completely different fight had you not been kiting that thing around and away from
Don't know if that would have worked at all.
It while I shot the shit out of it.
Yeah.
That was
And then you
crap
guys
shoot.
handled all the ancillary.
The swarming stuff.
Swarming stuff.
Sort of. So, pretty easy.
You were there though.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
I think for me, Valian, at the last battle, taking that hand and
that was a
forcing it into
friggin'
the
gamble and a
entropy
half.
sphere.
Like
Yeah, did you even...
I didn't. I was like, "This is we're fucked. We are surrounded and completely like, I'll get to what Avius
Something
did
clicked
in,
in your head because you said hand,
I'm like,
sphere,
you gotta
gun.
like, give me the hand, and I'm gonna like, if anything's gonna work, this is gonna work, and if it doesn't work, well, c'est la vie.
It's better than my plan.
But Avius, you sacrificing yourself at the end, like, I've thought about that. I'm like, would it have played out differently if you didn't do that? But the way you went out was awesome, and I really wish you would have rolled an even number on that. I really do. I wanted to see what was going to happen.
I at that point, like, we were getting hoarded on all sides, and I just saw no alternative. It's like,
It was awesome.
I've got this big, powerful staff. I have it for a reason. I could do a couple fireballs and some magic missiles, and or I could go big. So I figured either way, I was dead.
I thought you might have brought out the other staff at the last moment, and for this one moment, it actually says, "This is magical."
So yeah, tell me about that staff.
Oh, I can't tell. No.
Came up.
Yeah. So there's no.
Can I have a guess?
Sure.
I have a feeling it was detecting itself.
That is absolutely correct.
So it was completely useless.
It does exactly what it says. It detects magic, and the closest thing is itself, so it detects magic.
So,
That was great.
Useless magic item.
It detects magic, as written. There's no way I'm giving you a powerful detection thing almost for free after your first battle is level 1s or whatever. It was fantastic.
It was awesome.
Oh, I loved it.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Biggest moments, though, we were still.
Oh, okay.
Oh, not on me.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
done.
Did we all cover?
There's more big moments.
Okay,
All right.
carry on.
Which question?
My question is, what would Puck, if he were looking down watching the last however many episodes and following this adventure to its end, what would he be saying or doing or thinking or?
He would have been, that last battle, he would have been super sad that he didn't get to put the band back together and do some more Thunderbolts and the Fireballs and Lightning. That was great. I loved putting those two spells together. It was so much fun.
Oh yeah, the first. Oh, and actually, speaking of great moments from other players, the first time using your
Call Thunder or Call Lightning.
Call Lightning.
That
spell.
was-
The rats? Or was that someone?
I thought it was at.
Was it bees?
Was
I thought
it
it
the
was
Ivory Swords.
No, it was at the Kraken fight.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Maybe
was it.
the rat.
I think it was.
Oh,
the
now I know what you're talking about.
It might have been the rats. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You killed
The
a lot of
cistern. You got the queen. Yeah, the rat queen
Yeah.
armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the question too. You were like, "How high's the ceiling?"
I always get nervous when you ask that. What's the limit?
Yeah.
It's 99. Damn. I'm gonna start digging.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant. And then the bees in the tavern.
That was so dumb.
Oh,
The two.
I was
brutal.
That was a fun spell, though. I love that spell.
I was expecting that to be a below average, a slightly easier encounter for the four of you, and then two of you went, and I'm like, this is kind of told Jorn's gonna have the upper hand here.
That was one of the most boring hours of my life.
You're just sitting in a.
Sidelined.
I'm just sitting there listening.
You weren't compelled by the story.
No, I mean it was good. It was good. It was a good battle. It was a good battle. But I mean, as a player,
Yeah.
Completely. I'm sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
fine.
Go ahead.
Most memorable. The when the bells tolled and we had our first big
yeah.
phantasmal fight with this creature
And that was the first time you did heat metal. And
that was, I got lucky with that one.
I thought that was the
That's
most
great.
amazing spell.
I loved how Rill kept all of his stuff secret.
Yeah.
That had to annoy the hell out of you though.
No.
Well, it did, but it was also like story-wise, it was
It was
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, it was
Because you were
super
pulling
annoying.
tricks out of your hat left and right.
Yeah,
That fit the bar.
Awesome.
I thought it would be cool. Oh my god, I had life transference for so long and I had That whole thing planned out. I got to use it in the final battle. Totally happy with that.
Yeah.
But I was like, I had to be prepared for some crazy fight that we were going to lose. But that was almost a sacrificial spell.
Yeah.
Because taking twice the damage, like, if I rolled that,
Oh.
I mean, that's like 3/4 of my life on a moderate roll, let alone anything else.
Valiant in those final moments was not happy with you twice doing that. And when you took the rock, that hit from the rock, I thought Rill was gone then.
Hit from the rock.
When, like right at the end, right
Oh.
before Valiant went in with the hand and like Tom said, one of you guys are taking this hit, who's taking it? And I'm like, I'm a sponge, do it.
You have never seen a person so much want to roll an actual critical failure and then succeed after that. And the reason why I had already played it out in my head when he said he was going to drop the rock, I was going to have the rock crush Rill wherever he was standing, and then all you would see is this blue smoke shoot out.
Oh, that would have been badass.
I wanted that to happen so bad, but yeah.
I got another question from John C. He asks, who was your favorite NPC to interact with?
Jorn for sure.
From my perspective, to interact with, or whatever you want, really. So Jorn?
That was fun. I had a blast with torturing him.
And he also wants to know, and then who was my favorite to portray?
Yeah.
My favorite was the guy with the shop of incredible, wondrous, magical bits and pieces.
Was that the shop? The old guy with the shop?
Yeah.
He was fun.
He was fun to interact with.
Yeah.
On a old man crazy level.
No, they're already spoken for.
Oh man, Avius almost had him like convinced to lower
The price?
and then he made a bad roll.
Yeah.
Did you ultimately get those, Bryce?
I did.
You did? Oh,
He
Yeah.
paid full price.
Remember he went into
price.
debt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was
That's
super
right.
happy when he thought Elmon was toast.
Ah, damn. With how things were going, I was jealous so much so because I had no money. And I was just like, why are we giving Elmon 3 bars of trading platinum for this? I'm like, all right, he's the first one I'm robbing.
Any other NPCs that were interesting to...
I have a guess on who your favorite is, though, Tom.
Oh, really? What's your guess?
The minstrel.
I like the minstrel.
Yeah.
He was fun.
I had fun with LaRose.
What's LaRose doing? What's LaRose up to now?
Yeah.
Is he just dancing on Elmon's grave?
Probably.
Back to being the champion.
Yeah, next year. He's excited. Yeah.
He just got back from date 3 with.
Oh,
No!
that knife in
You know what
deeper.
happens on date 3.
Vakir was very fun for me. I liked Vakir. I think also along those lines, very outgoing, who I really loved, was Raleigh, the magic cart owner. He was so much fun. And
It's great.
someone put a law down that no other purchase will be made, and he had 3 greater healing potions. I even said out loud, and you
I
guys
didn't
walked
trust
away.
him.
I know. They were totally legit.
I would not have trusted that.
Totally legit potions. I can see it in the final battle. I am reluctantly uncorking the potion. I'm shaking it up. I'm sniffing.
That was awesome.
It's actually greater heals potion, and your feet just get all big.
That does bring up a question that I have for Tim, for Avius. The duck man, that goddamn duck. What was going through your mind in Lessier's cave when Puck was like just down and out? Like not unconscious, but in like that spell where he couldn't do anything, and you were so close to cracking open those eggs to see what was inside. What was going through your head? What did you think was going to be in there to save the
Avius
day?
was going to MacGyver some shit together based on what he found in those eggs to make something awesome happen.
Iron nails, pudding, and
Candied raisins, a
candy
molar.
raisins.
A marble. Man, I really wanted to use that marble that lit up when it rolled across the floor. Like, there's just some amazing
You
things.
gave him essentially the pacifier for wizards.
Piece of candy.
He's just entertained.
Would you like to hear some more items that could have appeared? From the eggs of
Do you have a
Gashapon.
D20 table?
I've got a table. Small pair of scissors. So that sounds painful. A small lens. 1d10 bottle corks. A half pound of jerked meat. A ring of luck.
Oh,
It was in there. It was in there.
You would have had to attune it.
A small snake. A crystal prism worth 50 gold. Just nothing but acid. And the last one is so random, a bite of ham. I don't know why that's in the list, but I put it in there.
what, Tom? What was the little goblin demon? What was?
Yeah.
What did you? What was the deal there?
I thought he was going to be squashed, maybe stepped on or blasted. He wasn't, so I didn't have any big plans for him. And then once he got away, I'm like, he's that like the cat inside the walls of the house now. Yeah, this is. But we never really went back to the house. There was just too much going
Buck
on.
had some plans for that little guy. But
Oh, by the way, for anyone scoring at home, the carpenter killed by the ivory sword was Rolmic.
Rolmic,
I think I've got one more question from John C. Is there any more story behind who or what Chebs was and what happened to him?
Chebs.
Everyone remember Chebs?
no.
He was at the manse. He was at the manor. He was.
Oh yeah.
The ghoul.
I remember the name,
Just
but
like snuck out after.
He was the ghoul in the dining room
Yeah,
who couldn't
he
leave
wandered
until
out, though.
he did something helpful for you.
And he took the coat that somebody covered up that go demon with. Yeah.
Yeah. So Chebs was part of another, like a budding evil group of demon-related enemies I was prepping. And so the evil spirit lady of the house was going to be a conduit for you guys to encounter more demon-related stuff. Not undead, per se, but demons. But again, that group just didn't get the attention and you guys went elsewhere, which is fine. So these guys were more... had more personality than just your normal undead, and Chebs is a kind of an example of that, although it's a weird personality. For his future of what happened, I already told it to you, and no one picked up on it because I really hit it. And it was, your house is kind of just between Rivergate and the North Market District. I think it's North Market. Anyways, late in the campaign, maybe you're going back to a general or a lieutenant in the army or something, or a guard, and they're like, we can't talk to you now, or we've got to go reinforce the troops outside the city. We got to go. And because we've got like looters that are causing trouble. There's reports of ghouls out in the North Market. That was Chebs trying to figure out what life is like for him as he's wandering around the North Market at night. Like, what the hell do I do now? So yeah, he's out there wandering the streets, not trying to cause trouble, but I mean, he's a ghoul. He's got a screwed.
I thought for sure there was going to be some connection between him and Amariel's servant.
Nope.
That was,
He was separate. He was
The
separate.
fight in the manor was a good one too.
Oh.
Like that. The whole like exploration, like we went room to room to room.
Yeah. Violent haunted house. I've got one from, and let me know if you guys want to jump in.
Actually, I got a quick
Sure.
question. There was the demon that was down in the cultist lair.
Yes.
How did that beast tie in? Because we couldn't interact with it. It wanted to just kill us outright. But
That I will have to play the card of I cannot tell you.
I asked the one question. All right.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Can't
That's
believe it took us this long to get to that annoying answer.
I gotta
We
hold
have
on
to
to that one.
purchase the deals.
The loot boxes might unlock that answer.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got some questions from a Mr. MJ from Twitter. He asks, I was half convinced that Rill was going to turn around and reveal himself to be a major baddie. There were little ticks and character beats that I saw where he knew a little too much about the cultists. I thought that was going to be the last knife in the back in the story. Did you play him that way on purpose?
I kind of did.
Really? Yeah. You were creepy.
He was creepy, but he was becoming antisocial, and I didn't want him to do that. So it was a lot of, do I want to be the Cylon-like bard? I didn't want to do that. I was trying to convey a story without telling anyone anything. So I came out, I just did that, that. And so wrapped it up. But yes, and that's a great catch, because there is this part where if I got what I wanted as Rill with the cultists, I would do anything to get my family back.
Oh.
And that could have changed. Never happened, but there's part of a catch there. So good job.
Mr. MJ also asks, man, did Puck get a good death scene? What made you choose Valiant as your next character? I was glad to see her fleshed out a little more because she was such a badass earlier in the story. Cared to give us some of her backstory that we didn't get to?
Yeah, Puck's death scene was awesome. I think we talked, I don't know if it was, I think it was all of us kind of like, it would be that late. We were definitely like late game and to like enter a whole new character
That we've never met.
It would not have meshed well. So there's a few choices as to take over an NPC, and she was by far on the top of my list.
Huh.
But yeah, a little bit of her backstory. She was kind of raised in a regal house, and found the church and become very devoted in her early years, and had I haven't written down somewhere, but like kind of a little bit of a falling out with her parents, her father, and dedicated 100% to the church after that, and kind of the priest
Conciliators?
the conciliator, like the day one,
yeah.
Became kind of her mentor, and so that was it. I didn't flesh it out much further.
I really wanted to see young priest Yezwin, or what was his name?
Yezwin.
Rezwin?
Yeah.
I want to see him come back
Oh, Reswin.
and join the party
He did join the party, didn't he?
for a mission.
We
for like
came
a
in with,
I wanted him as a replacement character, just his innocence.
He was my Mr. Hazelton.
Along with your Mr. Hazelton.
Liked
No,
Hazelton.
he loved it.
Oh, okay.
Did not like Reswin.
What questions do you guys have? Any last ones from you?
I do. I have one for you, Tom.
Oh.
Were you determined to how determined were you to murder one of us? Were you like,
What do you mean?
I mean, like how determined were you to because Puck was the only one like in the middle. I mean, we lost a couple at the end, but like how determined were you to kill one of us outright?
Yeah, for me, it's balancing encounters to make them engaging and fun, but I also will make encounters that are tough, and I don't know if you can necessarily win, and maybe you die, maybe you back away from is what I'm really expecting. In most cases, though, you guys still came out on top. I think all of you were still trying to figure out how do we get out away from this Kraken thing. And it was just like, Olgrim's just too slow. He's lost the foot or whatever. And it's like, ooh, I was not expecting that sucker to go down. So there are battles that I set up. So then if you are going to die because of that, that's not on me at that point.
No.
But no, I'm not like, I don't like someone or the story needs someone to die or anything like that. I'm not hunting down
I
someone.
was just curious.
But yeah, if a player dies, it adds a huge sense of danger to the game. Elmon's death to me is a very interesting one. It shows how powerful even quick decisions can be, for good or for bad, when the stakes get super high, and it really just like adds a lot of gravitas. So yeah, I mean, we ran this whole campaign and everyone lost one character, right?
No,
Avius.
we got
Avius died.
we got Olgrim and Rill. I mean, Olgrim.
No.
Well,
Olgrim left. Olgrim left.
Yeah,
Olgrim
Everyone
left.
lost one
By
character.
the end of the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No original character was still as
Active in the group.
active
Yeah.
as a player character.
Yeah.
which was I like.
Elmon wanted to be the one.
Yeah.
But yeah, losing Elmon in that fight was devastating.
That certainly changed my
Yeah,
whole
right-
view of the fight.
Right at the beginning too, I was sort of like, oh, like I know I'm a lot of damage output, so
Yeah.
and I can be a distraction.
Yeah, you can start doing your little runaround thing.
Yeah,
You were throwing down cones of arrows already to start,
yeah.
and I was like, "Wow, we got this pretty well licked."
I had
Yeah.
1 round of combat.
That's all.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you guys remember how hard it was to take down those little mutated guys? They were just constantly there. There were only 2 that got changed because Elmon and Avius blew up a whole bunch before they mutated early on.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like right at the beginning, they just both came out.
Yeah.
Avius has a question.
Lay it on us.
What in the name of all holy fuckery was the little purple bits inside the Chaos Cultist?
That was, those were growths implanted that grew out that were implanted by the Chaos Surgeon. Anyone remember that name coming up?
Yes.
Again, that was part of the Chaos arc. You guys didn't go down, which is fine.
What?
Yeah.
There was a surgeon that we were warned about by
Yeah.
one of the
By the
consortium.
minstrel at the Founders
okay.
Feast.
By Vakir.
Bakir told us about it when he told us about the green the green
Yeah,
metal
there was
and
some
the
surgeon
the
around
flying-
doing bad
the
things.
spire that was like there was
Yeah.
weird.
He also
stuff
mentioned a
going
little
on.
flying demon thing
Yeah.
over the rooftops. There's some were true, some were not. But yeah, so there was mention of a surgeon. So there was a Chaos Surgeon, and there was a dude, and there was a location. And I thought, man, you guys are going to tear him a new hole and start jamming stuff in his body. But that never happened, which
Yeah.
is, again, fine.
Totally forgot about
Yeah.
that. I wrote it down because Puck, like surgeon, like he was,
Yeah.
But yeah,
There are a couple other things now that we're talking about it that I thought were interesting that we did not get to. There was the Warriors Guild quest from Olgrim. So at the start of the campaign, before we even began, I gave you guys each your own little mini quest just to get things rolling. And we went down each of them. So Rolmic was one, which is slow to get to. Hux.
mine was the very beginning.
Very-
The docks.
That was in the Genesis system.
Yeah.
And then Avius's was what? I can't remember. Was it?
Was
I
it
can't remember.
Will? Something with
No, I think it was just maybe meeting tasks and connecting with tasks or something. But in any event, Olgrim was the important one. Or Olgrim was the one I'm talking about now. He had a quest to help out the Warriors Guild, to join that Warriors Guild, and that was going to involve the dock. The docks were going to take a much more prominent scene for several adventures. Just never happened because, again, you guys were busy. I thought that was interesting. I was also interested in spending some time and seeing what you guys helped with or fought against the Brotherhood in the Guild Quarter. Remember that brother who talked very slow? That guy? He was at the party, bought a magic item, and his whole, remember what his whole,
Famous ring.
Yeah.
remember, wow, that's a deep cut right there, man.
You get an inspiration die on that one.
Yeah. Do you remember what his group did? And
Yes, they were the re something like the re-education camp guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very culty.
And he wanted people who were evil, and they would bring them in and basically re-educate them.
Brotherhood of Redemption.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always interested to see what would happen
I want
with
to
that.
visit that too, like as part of because he bought one of the items, and I thought
We
all
did,
these items
but,
were significant. So
And the other one I thought was interesting that did not get explored was the Chaos Cult's Precognition Chamber.
Yeah.
Again, part of the arc that never went through. They had a precognition chamber. So they had a chamber, and they had a watery area that was very still and perfect, always, and it would show them their successes. It would show them the path towards their successes. It showed them that going straight through the entrance to Goth Gilgamel up to the top would just be utter dark and kill them, so they had to go underneath. It showed them how to find the wish ring, all that stuff. And that's great, until ripples start to appear every so often in this little, witch's cauldron type thing. And the ripples mean that there's a problem to their plan that's right here. And the ripples were always you guys. They don't know really what that is, but they have a sense that it's you guys. And so they can send someone through that pool to deal with the ripple by summoning a Dashun nasty creature, but like a Terminator type thing. They go through, they end up naked, and it's always connected to water. And that's only when it detects is when you guys are near water. So that's why the guy appeared near the boat a day in advance and was picked up by the other ship, but he got connected and you guys found him. That was their little precognition pool trying to connect the two of you so they could wipe you out. They don't even know who you guys really are. Yeah. And then it happened again with the Boglegs. It detected there, he splashed, and then leaving the orc promontory point, hey, there's a nude guy in the water. And then Puck's like, yeah, okay, let's grab him. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
This is the only time I got to change into an octopus.
So yeah, there was this chamber, and it was kind of cool. It was there.
Where, like, if we had followed the Chaos Arc, obviously we would have probably run into it at some point.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
So I thought you were talking about when you first started talking after we rescued Olgrim down below, and we went and there was like an office, and there was like some weird like electrical charging things. Like, what was that?
Yeah, that was used to keep that evil thing in place, the big guy in place.
So when we came back and it was gone,
they relocated it so they could relocate the big.
And how do we get past the demon again?
We had to basically tell him that we were going to destroy the chaos cultists.
Yeah, it wanted us to get in there.
Who had him,
and then it let us in.
It didn't necessarily want you to get in there, but it loves chaos, even if it's against its own people type concept. Yeah. Once you declared that you were heading in there, there was no battle necessary with it, and it just said like chaos and pointed you towards the door or whatever.
That thing would have killed us. Right?
Oh, it was nasty, McNasty.
Didn't it? I think it hit Puck. Or it hit someone.
There were some attacks.
Real bad.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
And then someone's like, let's talk. Any other questions? Quick look around the table. Well, I've got one thing I wanted to say and then one question. The one thing I wanted to say that my favorite thing about this entire campaign, especially since we were recording it, is as a game master, I always felt like I was taken care of by you guys, which I so appreciate. I could bring any story up to you guys, and you guys would grab it and you would run with it, as opposed to no. I only want what's going on with my guy. You can see that a lot in some role-playing players. It's about my guy. What gear do I have? How does my guy shine? You guys were always helping each other shine, which I thought was cool. And then you were making sure the story shined. You cared about people like Rolmick, and then that translated into the story and to the listeners and to me. And it made the world cool. And it was just, I felt, again, taken care of, that no matter what I could present, you guys were there for me, and then you just wouldn't leave me or the story hanging. I really appreciated that.
Very nice to say.
Yeah. So let's.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Let's bring this roundtable to a close then with the last question I have. So now that the campaign is over, how would you sum up the entire experience?
Addicting? Like, it's something to look forward to every week. It's so much fun. I just unlike anything I've ever been a part of, so thank you all for that. But yeah, man, it's just a lot of fun, just hanging out and creating or adding to a world and a place that you created, Tom. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, Thursday night's my favorite night. Even working like a long shift before coming here, it's like, I don't care. I'm tired. I need my coffee, but like, I want to be here. It's been, it is addiction. It is addicting to come and do this, and especially knowing, because we do the podcast, there's a little bit of a level of extra commitment there from all of us. We all have sacrifice plans or rearrange things. made things happen to make sure that we can be here, to make sure that we're producing that episode every week, or put in a long Saturday, or done whatever we needed to do to make sure that that content comes out for, not even for ourselves at some point, but for the people who are listening to us.
Let's see if I did my take on it. Outside of the game itself, it's always been a pleasure to come here. Addicting was used, which is great, and I certainly feel that too, but to actually create something, that there's a joy in that in and of itself, getting to meet you guys, getting to spend time with you, hashing out stuff, doing role play, but be kind of an intimate kind of role play. We've made each other cry, we've made each other laugh, get angry, whatever, really get into the story. And then on the story level, it's kind of unfolded like a great novel. It's started out simply, but we started developing characters, and then those became real, and then those became fulfilling, and then we started putting them in dangerous situations, and like Tom said, we cared about them. So when we lost them, it was like, oh, that sucks. That for me is what sums everything up. It's drama, but it is that joy in it. So I could throw my spot on there, but there you go.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything different to add. It's been really fun to create this story, and it wasn't about how do we win. It wasn't about what pieces do we need to put together to get to the end. It was just about what's going to happen today. What is life bringing us today in the form of this story, in the form of this world and this city and these characters, and it was just a fun escape. Like Chris said, we even, no matter what else is happening in my day or in my week, I always look forward to coming here and interacting and creating just more of the story, and being able to not only just enjoy it for myself and with you guys, but it's just an added bonus that other people seem to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
That's really cool. The people that I've told about this podcast who listen, most of them, 95% of them, don't roleplay, don't game. They're not familiar with any of that. But some of them have started, or some of them don't, but yet still love to listen, and it's really neat. It's just something that can go out into the world, that it just hopefully brings some smiles and lets people just enjoy life for 2 or 3 hours, no matter what else is going on.
I like that. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. For me, the every week thing that really got to me was I could count on, no matter what, that come Thursday nights, that's when we record, that every Thursday night, I just guarantee that I would be laughing. That's really cool. Most people don't get to say that there's a night they will be laughing over and over again, sometimes in tears. That's pretty cool. That's a great reason to get together and show up. So I really like that. I love we're able to do a classic, adventure, or at least our take on it. I was never sure if anyone would really be interested in listening, that they would enjoy our sense of humor or not. So I'm glad that we have some listeners. I also like
the 3 of you out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I also like the growth too of seeing the arc of you guys just being nobodies that no one cared about to becoming known members of the town that generals know and high priest, and I thought that was a cool concept. So I was very excited about that. And then for me, it was also the camaraderie of the heroes and watching that get just tighter and tighter and tighter as they're relying on each other and fighting with each other and squabbling, whatever it is. And then the camaraderie of us in the room. We're just here recording night after night after night. That was cool to just watch that grow for me. So on behalf of the Inglorious Bards, thank you listeners so much for joining us and following us along adventures. It's absolutely fantastic. The kind words you guys and the support you showed was wonderful. We read every single message that was sent our way. That's food for the soul concept of hearing all the kind words and the people who got invested in the adventures and stories with us. So we're very appreciative. This was a great time for us all, and we're excited to see you hopefully down the road for season 2.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Who's ready for adventure?